Han Jingjing's familiar smiling face popped up on the touch screen, and the text below was updated. Jingjing has built an intelligent alchemy system for Lin Yi Gij. After entering the system interface, there was an additional option: spiritual alchemy, fire alchemy. Lin Yi was a little excited when he saw it. It was similar to the first time he was refining pills. Thinking about how he tried so many times in the ancient underworld, he couldn't refine a furnace of pills with sea beast inner cores. Now he finally succeeded. It was really not easy. After choosing spiritual alchemy, fire alchemy, a few small options appeared. They were similar to the previous ones: refining known pills, analysis of unknown pills, and so on. Lin Yi had given Han Jingjing several pill recipes before, and she had already entered them, so she could directly choose the known pills to refine. Lin Yi still kept a lot of the sea beast inner cores he obtained in the ancient underworld. Now, he chose a foundation establishment pill from these pill recipes. Please wait, Jingjing is generating the refining script for the foundation establishment pill for brother Lin Yi. After Jingjing's calculation, putting in 3 sets of materials at a time will get the greatest benefits. However, the sea beast inner cores should be of the same attribute, and the difference in level cannot be too big, otherwise, it will affect the effect. Lin Yi quickly selected 3 sea beast inner cores of the same attribute and the same level. He did not doubt Han Jingjing's reminder. If he put in 3 sea beast inner cores that did not meet the requirements, it was not impossible for him to fail directly. Except for the sea beast inner cores, the rest of the materials were very ordinary. Lin Yi's stock of elixirs was quite large, so he did not have to worry about this aspect. After putting the 3 sets of materials into the Shinnon cauldron, he pressed the OK button. The words "analyzing" appeared on the screen, and soon the results jumped out. The refining script for the foundation establishment pill has been generated. According to the weight of the materials, there are 3 sets of high-quality materials. The refining time is estimated to be 1 hour and 25 minutes. It is estimated that 5 elixirs can be obtained. Please prepare the alchemy fire and continue to input. In terms of time, it was faster than using the true Qi alchemy fire and elixirs to refine the foundation establishment pill. For this, Lin Yi was quite satisfied. In less than 1.5 hours, he could refine 5 foundation establishment pills. This speed was absolutely against the natural order. After condensing the alchemy fire, Lin Yi began to stare at the screen of the tablet attentively. Because his spiritual sense was quite powerful, the alchemy curve on the tablet was quite smooth, with almost no extra twists and turns. Finally, after 1 hour and 21 minutes, the refining of the foundation establishment pill was completed. Without opening the lid of the cauldron, there was already a faint pill fragrance wafting out. This alchemy has ended. There are 5 pills, 2 of high quality and 3 of medium quality. The script has been found to have a slight adjustment. It will be automatically adjusted in the next alchemy. Lin Yi was slightly startled, then immediately smiled and said, "Jing is really amazing." The automatic alchemy equipment nowadays is becoming more and more intelligent. The quality of the 5 foundation establishment pills could only be said to be average, so Lin Yi did not care. After putting them away, he put 3 sets of materials into the furnace and prepared to refine them a second time. Since the first time was not perfect, of course, he had to refine a few more times. When the script was perfect, he could refine other elixirs. In any case, Lin Yi did not have anything else, but he had the materials. The quality of the second foundation establishment pill was much better, and the time was reduced by about 3 minutes. However, there was still room for improvement, so Lin Yi did not stop and continued refining for the 3rd time. Finally, while reducing the time by another 2 minutes, he refined 5 top-grade, special-grade elixirs. Chapter 5775. Please wait a moment, Jing is generating the refining script for brother Lin Yi's Jindan. After Jing's calculation, putting in 5 sets of materials at a time will get the greatest benefit, but it is best for the sea beast's Niden to be of 5 elements, so that after forming a cycle of 5 elements, the effect will be increased by 20%. If there are no 5 elements, you can only use the sea beast's Niden of a single element. Of course, the level of the sea beast's Niden can't be too different, otherwise, it will affect the effect. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. It was the first time he heard that alchemy would have a cycle of 5 elements. Han Jingjing was too heaven-defying. She could even take such a factor into account. In fact, whether it was the Heaven Stage Island or the ancient small world, alchemists refined alchemy one set of materials at a time. No one put several materials into alchemy like Lin Yi. Even if there was such a method of 5 elements, no one could use it, so it was normal that he had never heard of it. In any case, this was a more powerful alchemy method. Lin Yi no longer hesitated. He immediately selected the 5 gold core stage sea beasts Niden and put them into the Shinong cauldron together with the auxiliary elixirs. To be honest, the other attributes of the sea beasts Niden were easy to get, but the fire attribute sea beasts Niden, Lin Yi really didn't have many. A fire attribute sea beasts Niden, it could be imagined how difficult it would be in the sea, so the 5 elements of the same gold core stage sea beasts Niden could be collected at most, which was the amount that could be refined 3 times. The Jindan alchemy script has been generated. According to the analysis of the material weight, there are 5 sets of alchemy materials of high quality. It is estimated that the alchemy time is 2 hours and 36 minutes. It is estimated that 7 elixirs can be obtained. Please prepare the spiritual awareness alchemy fire and maintain a continuous input state. The time it took to concoct the golden elixir was more than an hour longer than the foundation elixir, almost double the time. Of course, the amount of materials he put in was also double the amount, so he didn't find it strange at all. He focused on condensing his consciousness into the refinement fire. Fortunately, Lin Yi's spiritual sense was incomparably powerful. Otherwise, with such continuous alchemy, an ordinary alchemist would have already fainted. It could be said that he did not have any talent in alchemy, but in this aspect, he was blessed by heaven. 2.5 hours later, the refining of the first Jindan was completed. The number reported by the automatic alchemy system was 8 pills, 6 of which were special grade and 2 of which were superior grade. Not only was it one more than expected, but the quality was also excellent. Sure enough, refining with the 5 elements was different. Unfortunately, there were too few fire-attributed sea beasts. These 15 fire-attributed inner cores had been carefully found by Lin Yi. Fortunately, the inner cores of sea beasts of a single attribute could also be used. Although the medicinal effects would be slightly inferior, it was not a big problem. The Yuanying stage golden pill was not needed for the time being, so Lin Yi did not waste time to refine it. Before leaving, he still had to prepare some practical medicinal pills. As for the inner cores of the sea beasts of the profound ascending stage, because Lin Yi only had one, and there was no Xian Yangdan in the small Jianghu, although he wanted to refine the Xian Yangdan to improve Qindongqing's strength, he could only give up. There were too few sea beasts of the profound ascending stage in the small Jianghu. If he wanted to get the inner cores of the sea beasts of the profound ascending stage, he still needed to return to the heavenly island and think of a way. At that time, even if there was no Xian Yangdan, with Han Jingjing's automatic alchemy system to deduce and analyze, he would definitely be able to refine it in the end. Lin Yi continuously refined for a day and a night. The medicinal pills were almost enough for the people in the secular world. He did not continue to refine. After all, spiritual awareness was different from true qi. Without the continuous support of the space in the jade pendant, he still needed to rest. The matter in the center was temporarily resolved. Lin Yi also had to return to the heavenly island. This time, he had stayed back for too long. To be honest, he was not at ease at the heavenly island. Fortunately, everything was fine so far. Opening the door, Lin Yi saw Languza sitting on the ground in front of his door. There were a lot of meat on the side. It seemed that he was guarding Lin Yi, which made him a little surprised. This time, he used the spiritual awareness pill fire. So Lin Yi did not release his spiritual awareness. He really did not know that Languza would be guarding here. Languza, what are you doing here? It was not easy to make Languza, who had always paid attention to his handsome image, sit on the ground like this. Of course, Lin Yi was just wondering why he did not get a chair to sit on. When Languza heard the sound of the door opening, he immediately swallowed the food in his mouth and then quickly stood up and said, "Boss, you came out. I was afraid that they would disturb you for no reason, so I helped you guard here." In fact, Lin Yi had already informed them in advance. Before he came out, unless there was a big matter, no one would disturb him. But this was also Languza's intention. He probably knew that Lin Yi was about to return to the Heavenly Island, so he was somewhat reluctant. "Languza, come in, I just happen to have something to talk to you about." Lin Yi smiled faintly and waved at Languza before turning around and going back. Languza hurriedly followed and did not forget to bring in the meat at the door. "Boss, what's the matter? Just tell me. I, Languza, will definitely do it properly for boss." Languza immediately opened his mouth after he sat down. He seemed to have his own way of doing things. Lin Yi thought for a moment before saying, "Didn't I say before that I want you to stay in the secular world to protect the people here? Do you have any other ideas now? If you want to go back to the endless sea, it doesn't matter." Languza's face slightly darkened, and he sighed and said, "Boss, I want to follow you. I don't want to go back to the endless sea. If you can't take me to the Heavenly Island, I will stay here to protect my sisters-in-law. If it's the Heavenly Island, it's not impossible for you to go." Lin Yi said carefully. Although the jade space was his secret, Languza's temperament could be trusted. Since he had already considered this matter before, Lin Yi no longer hesitated. Languza was suddenly overjoyed. He couldn't help but lean forward and asked anxiously, "Really? Boss, can I really go with you?" "That's great. Chen Dongcheng is still very reliable. It's enough for him to stay here. I, Languza, will follow you to the Heavenly Island." Chapter 5776. Of course it's true, but this matter might be a bit dangerous, and you absolutely cannot reveal it. After arriving at Heavenly Island, you cannot say that you followed me there. You can only say that you were originally a sea dragon on Heavenly Island. Lin Yi believed that Languza wouldn't casually reveal the matter of the space in the jade pendant, but he still needed to be reminded. Languza also understood that Lin Yi wanted him to know some secrets. Don't be fooled by his carefree attitude, he was absolutely not a fool. He immediately said with a serious expression, "Boss, I understand. I'm not afraid of danger. As long as I can be with you, what is a trivial danger? As for what you said, I, Languza, will definitely remember it and absolutely won't reveal any information." In fact, even if Languza didn't say it, the people from the center would more or less be able to guess some of the truth. However, after arriving at Heavenly Island, Lin Yi could have Languza change his appearance a bit, or he could have Han Jingjing research to see if there was a way to directly bring people to Heavenly Island. No matter what, as long as Languza went to Heavenly Island, there would always be an excuse. Moreover, Lin Yi's plan was to have Languza go to the sea to gain experience for a while and search for his own opportunities. This way, it might not attract the attention of the center. Alright, after Jing Jing comes out of seclusion, we'll prepare to return to Heavenly Island. At that time, I'll let you enter a space that's exclusive to me. No living people can enter, but spirit beasts can live inside. You're a sea dragon, so you belong to the category of spirit beasts, so I reckon you'll be able to enter. It's just that I'm not sure if you'll have a problem crossing the plane to Heavenly Island." Lin Yi said in a dignified tone. He really wasn't trying to scare Languza. That ghost couldn't wake up in the secular world, and Zhao Yazi couldn't appear on the Heaven Stage Island. Who knew if something would happen to Languza? Languza laughed and said, "Boss, don't worry. I, Languza, didn't die even after being captured by the Central and was rescued by you. This means that if I follow you, I will be accompanied by good luck. There won't be a problem. It's a deal." Lin Yi thought about it and felt that it was true. If he had not saved Languza, his physical body would have already collapsed. Speaking of which, his luck was indeed not bad. Boss, you don't have to worry about that. Let's see if you can let me enter your space first. If we can't get in, then everything will be in vain. Languza had made up his mind to follow Lin Yi, so he was very concerned about whether or not he could enter the space that Lin Yi was talking about like the spirit beasts. That's right, then let's give it a try first. Lin Yi originally had this idea. Since Languza took the initiative to mention it, then he would give it a try. As expected, although Languza was a sea dragon, he still belonged to the category of spirit beasts. There was no problem for him to enter the space of the jade pendant. As such, as long as he let Languza enter the space of the jade pendant before Lin Yi left, then he would come out at Heaven Stage Island. Unfortunately, the space of the jade pendant couldn't carry people. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to run between the two ends if he could bring everyone into Heaven Stage Island. After discussing with Languza, while Han Jingjing was still studying the wormhole, Lin Yi also began to bid farewell to the people in the secular world. When Han Jingjing came out, he could directly leave. Everyone knew that he was going back, so they basically put down everything at hand and stayed in the villa. Even Cheng Yi, who was far away in Europe, rushed back after her concert tour. However, before leaving, Lin Yi suddenly remembered that Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's wedding was not yet held. As the big matchmaker, he promised to host a wedding for them in Songshan City. Before returning to Heaven Stage Island, he should still fulfill this promise. Since he thought of it, Lin Yi didn't delay any longer. He directly took out his phone and dialed Zhou Ruoming's number. It only rang once before the other side picked up, as if Zhou Ruoming had been waiting for his call. Boss Lin Yi, you're back in Songshan City? Zhou Ruoming's surprised voice came through the phone, making Lin Yi's mood a lot better. He was indeed very happy to be able to achieve a good fate. Yes, some things have been delayed for a bit. Is your wedding done? I need to make it up to you guys with a wedding gift. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't say something like, are you guys still waiting for me to host the wedding? So he could only ask indirectly. Zhou Ruoming laughed, Boss Lin Yi, are you trying to kill me? Me and Ruoqing being able to have what we have today is all thanks to you. That was the best gift he could give her. As for the wedding, we've already done it once at Ruoqing's house, but Songshan City has been waiting for you, Boss Lin Yi. Without you hosting, we'd rather not have the wedding. Lin Yi wasn't surprised when he heard this. He immediately nodded, if that's the case, then tell me the date of the wedding. I've been quite busy recently, so I'll be leaving after attending your wedding. Boss Lin Yi, I know you're busy. If you're free today, then let's do it tonight. Zhou Ruoming said straightforwardly. Obviously, he had already prepared for this. Everything's prepared for the wedding? Lin Yi was slightly startled. He also understood that Zhou Ruoming must have booked the wedding venue so that he could attend the wedding at any time. Although the money was nothing to Lin Yi, it was probably not insignificant to the Zhou family. That's right, the bride, the groom, and the venue are all prepared. We're just waiting for you to host the wedding. Zhou Ruoming said with a hearty smile. This wedding was completely prepared for Lin Yi. As for the guests, the Zhou family didn't have many close friends, so it was very convenient to inform them. Moreover, in Zhou Ruoming's heart, his family and friends were not on the same level as Lin Yi. At most, he would invite them again later. Alright, since you're ready, then I'll be there on time tonight. Where's the venue? Lin Yi said with a smile. Zhou Ruoming handled this matter very well. It was very important that it didn't take up too much of Lin Yi's time. It's the number 1 private room of the Huangting Hotel. Should I go pick you up, boss? If you have any friends with you, they're welcome to come along. Zhou Ruoming thought of Languza. With him around, he must ask the hotel to prepare more meat. Chapter 5777. Alright, since you said so, Lin Yi boss, Ruoqing and I will be waiting for you and your friend at the wedding, Zhou Ruoming said respectfully, then said goodbye to Lin Yi. After Lin Yi hung up the phone, he said goodbye to Languza. He wasn't going to bring anyone else, but Languza had witnessed the story between Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing, so it wasn't a problem to bring him along. Besides, Languza's generosity was equivalent to 30 to 40 people, so he could represent everyone. Although Zhou Ruoming said he didn't need gifts, Lin Yi couldn't really go to the wedding empty-handed. It was meaningless to give money. No matter how weak the Zhou family was, they didn't need money, not to mention they were going to be connected to the Liang family through marriage. After thinking for a while, Lin Yi decided to use the spiritual herbs on the Heaven-class island to make 2 bone and marrow cleansing pills. He was going to give them as gifts. These pills were useless to him, but to ordinary people like Zhou Ruoming, it was very effective. It could prolong his life for 100 or 200 years. When it was almost time, Lin Yi drove Languza to the Huangting Hotel. This hotel was one of the top hotels in Songshan. Even if they didn't use the room, they still had to pay 2 to 300,000 yuan a day. Zhou Ruoming had spent a lot of money waiting for Lin Yi. Lin Yi was driving his old Jeep Cherokee today. When they arrived at the hotel, a doorman came to open the door respectfully. He didn't mind. He tipped the doorman and gave the car keys to the doorman to park the car. Then he led Languza into the hotel. Normally, if there were VIPs holding a wedding in a hotel, there would be an eye-catching sign at the door, so people could find the place quickly. However, Lin Yi didn't see any sign for Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's wedding. The number 1 private room was the best private room here. There was no reason for the hotel to be so careless. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He released his divine sense and found a sign in a remote corner that had been stepped on. The white lily decorations on the sign were almost ruined. As for Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's names, they were almost ruined too. Lin Yi suddenly felt a little unhappy. This hotel was too inconsiderate. The handmade sign was ruined like this. Not only that, they didn't even put the sign on the LCD screen. Were they expressing their dissatisfaction with Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing? He continued to extend his divine sense, and the whole hotel appeared in his sea of consciousness. He easily saw that in the number 1 private room where Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing were, there was another group of people confronting with Zhou Ruoming. "Boss, Zhou Ruoming seems to be in trouble. Why don't I go and kill all those people?" Languza also swept out with his divine sense. When he found this situation, he was overjoyed. He didn't expect that he could not only have a big meal today, but also relax his muscles. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, "No need for you. These are all small fries. It's not worth our time to take action." After that, ignoring Languza's disappointed eyes, he took out his mobile phone and called Kong Xiaobo. Then he took Languza to the elevator. When they came to the number 1 private room, they could already hear the quarrel inside from the open door. Lin Yi didn't rush in, so he listened outside with Languza. "Zhou Ruoming, Brother Qing said that you have to give up this place today. Don't think that you can go to heaven just because you married a woman from the Liang family. It's just a new aristocratic family. If you don't know what's good for you, believe it or not, your wife will become the wife of all our brothers tonight." A yellow-haired young man was shouting arrogantly inside. Zhou Ruoming almost rushed up and beat him, but Liang Ruoqing stopped him. "Today is my and Brother Ming's big day, so I don't want to argue with you. Leave immediately, otherwise, even your Brother Qing won't have a good life." Liang Ruoqing's pretty face was cold, and she said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. After all, she was a girl from the Liang family, so her momentum was not inferior at all. "Yo, this chick is quite shrewish. Chick, what good life can you have with this poor guy? Follow us, I promise you will have a good life every day." Another yellow-haired man said with a wretched smile. He had no respect for the new aristocratic family, the Liang family. "Ruoqing, don't talk nonsense with them. Today, I will destroy these small fries first." Zhou Ruoming's blood was boiling. After being humiliated like this, he might as well die. The leader of the group of hoodlums snorted, "Zhou Ruoming, do you think Songshan is still the same as when the Zhou family was in power? Brother Cheng gave you face by letting you use Supreme Number 1 for so long. Today, Brother Cheng is going to use this place to invite a big shot, as well as celebrities from all over Songshan. If you know what's good for you, then leave, or don't blame us for being impolite. I think we should let his wife Stain be the main dish. Brother Cheng will definitely like it. Another yellow-haired man laughed loudly. Liang Ruoqing ignored him and sneered, your brother Cheng is going to invite a big shot, don't tell me it was only decided today. Celebrities from all over Songshan, it's already dark, and you want to steal our reserved room? Do you really think we are easy to bully? What a joke. This number 1 private room was originally reserved for our brother Cheng. He can come whenever he wants. Did you guys decide on this? You guys have to give up the room you booked. If you keep being so long-winded, believe it or not, we brothers will gang rape you in front of your useless husband first. The yellow-haired man pointed at Liang Ruoqing arrogantly, his expression as if he couldn't wait for her to continue arguing. Lin Yi took a step forward, appearing in front of the blonde like a ghost. With a light slap, he sent the blonde flying out of the room, crashing into the wall and spitting out a mouthful of bloodied teeth. His head tilted to the side, and he fainted on the spot. If Lin Yi didn't show mercy, this guy would have turned into a bloody mist and disappeared. Boss, why did you do it yourself? Let me do it. Languza quickly followed up and rolled up his sleeves, but seeing that Lin Yi didn't say anything, he could only put down his arm. This is Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing's wedding, those who aren't invited can leave now. Lin Yi looked coldly at the group of hoodlums and said emotionlessly. Chapter 57-78. The hoodlums didn't know who Lin Yi was, but they were still intimidated by his aura. No one dared to speak. Who dares to tell my people to piss off? Is Songshan going to change? A young man stepped out of the elevator coldly, hearing Lin Yi's words. He smiled coldly as he walked in. Brother Cheng. Master Cheng. The gangsters greeted Lin Yi excitedly and respectfully as if they'd found their backbone. They looked at Lin Yi as if he was a dead man. Languza laughed at this idiot's pretentious face. Just what level is this guy in? He'll have to ask his boss later. It wasn't that this guy was too strong, it was that he was too weak. Languza wasn't very familiar with the levels below Foundation establishment. After all, there weren't any sea beasts this week. He really didn't know much. Lin Yi, of course, knew that a guy at the peak of the late phase of the Earth class was quite strong in Songshan. But to challenge him like that was a joke. My boss told you to piss off. Why aren't you guys piss off? Languza glared at him and turned to Lin Yi with a smile. Boss, they don't want to piss off. Do you want me to make them piss off one by one? When Languza said piss off, he really meant it. He thought it would be a good game, but Lin Yi didn't agree. Lin Yi looked at young Master Cheng indifferently and said without a trace of anger, changing the world? Has Songshan ever changed? Master Cheng paused. He didn't quite understand what Lin Yi meant. Was he trying to stand up for House Zhou? Let House Zhou become the top power in Songshan again? Even if that was the case, wouldn't it still be a change? Lin Yi didn't want to pay attention to this ant-like character. He didn't even want to know who this guy was. The difference was too big. He didn't even have the mood to care. What Lin Yi meant was that the skies of Songshan would always be in his hands. It didn't matter if he was here or not, no matter who was jumping around below, as long as he wasn't dead, the skies wouldn't belong to anyone. This was Lin Yi's base in the common world. Who dared to say they controlled this place? They didn't even know how to write the word death. Master Cheng was hesitant. Lin Yi and Languza looked like normal people, but that follower that flew out wasn't something a normal person could do. He suspected that Lin Yi and Languza weren't so simple. Because of that, he didn't dare act rashly. You two, do you know who's in charge of Songshan, right? I, and Jiancheng, may only be the second in command, but I'm a man of my words. If you let me have this place today, I'll owe you a favor. Otherwise, the aristocratic families behind us could easily crush a tiny Liang family. And Jianqing thought about it and softened his attitude, but he still made a threat. Get out. Lin Yi didn't have any expression on his face. Which noble house in the common world dared to jump in front of him? He really wanted to see. But this guy's name sounded familiar. And Jianqing? What did he have to do with that idiot Jiang Wen? And Jianqing's face turned cold. He smiled coldly. Don't be so shameless. Do you know who I've invited today? Not to mention in Songshan, even in the whole of China, he's someone who can shake the world with a stomp of his feet. If you dare to delay this young master's business, don't even think about getting away with it. Io, you scared me to death. Languza screamed as if he wanted the world to be in chaos. He smiled weirdly. I have to stomp my foot and shake the world a few times a day. I don't even know when I accidentally let you out, you son of a turtle. You dare come here and scare me? Do you really think I'm scared? Lin Yi was speechless. Languza used to be such a simple and honest sea dragon. How did he become like this all of a sudden? Even if society was a big dye vat, he didn't go to society at all. Plus, you're a sea dragon. If you're the son of a turtle's father, then isn't the relationship between families a little too complicated? You're courting death. And Jianqing didn't even say anything. His lackeys couldn't take it anymore. This was the best time to show their loyalty. No one wanted to be left behind. All of them rolled up their sleeves, ready to teach Languza a lesson. Languza got excited. This was the effect he wanted after wasting so much saliva. Boss, please don't stop them. Unfortunately, before these guys could make a move, the elevator that opened again attracted their attention. A young girl with international brands came out. Her makeup was exquisite, and her hair was dyed light blonde. Although her face couldn't be seen clearly because of her large sunglasses, her aura was very strong. Behind her were 4 men and women. They seemed to be her assistant, makeup artist, fashion designer, and bodyguards. It was obvious that they were a team of celebrities. Emily. It's Miss Emily. The lackeys who were about to rush up turned around and saw this girl. They immediately changed their target and looked towards the elevator. If it wasn't for Jianqing, they would have rushed up and surrounded her. Languza looked at the girl named Emily bitterly. His heart was full of resentment. It wasn't easy for this bro to get into a fight. Why did this chick come out and cause trouble? Emily's frosty expression immediately turned radiant when she saw Jianqing. She took off her sunglasses, revealing her exquisite face and beautiful eyes. She walked over with a smile. Young Master Cheng, you're here so early. I'm sorry, am I late? I even said I wanted to familiarize myself with the venue and the environment. I'm really sorry. Young Master Cheng, you're a magnanimous person. Please don't hold it against me. And Jianqing temporarily put aside Lin Yi and the others when he saw Emily. He revealed a smile that he thought was handsome. Miss Emily, you're so dedicated. How could you be late? I also came early to see Miss Emily. After all, I'm your fan. It's my honor to be able to invite Miss Emily to sing here. Young Master Cheng, you really know how to make people happy. You can call me whenever you want to listen to songs. Emily smiled seductively and winked at Jianqing. She was secretly pleased with herself. Chapter 57-79. Isn't young Master Cheng going to treat some VIPs today? Why did it look like a wedding? Emily knew that if she was too enthusiastic, Jianqing might not take her seriously. Fishing for a rich man was the same as fishing. She had to know when to stop, so she pretended to change the topic. Jianqing sneered, some blind people are fighting with me for this place. Don't worry, Emily, this won't affect your performance. Emily turned to look at Lin Yi, her eyes brightening as well. She didn't know who he was, but the aura he exuded was very attractive, and in terms of looks, he was a lot better than Enchanting. Unfortunately, there weren't many rich young masters that she didn't know. The one in front of her was obviously not on the list. Otherwise, she could have befriended him. Since he wasn't a rich young master, Emily wasn't interested in getting to know Lin Yi. She continued to size up the others, and it seemed that Lin Yi was the leader. She could only twist her slender waist as she walked in front of him and raised her chin arrogantly. "You're the leader of these people, right? I'd advise you guys to leave before young Master Cheng gets angry. Of course, I'll give each of you an autographed photo as compensation, and you can even take a photo with the bride and groom as a blessing. What do you think?" Emily said, as if she was giving them charity, as if they were the ones who'd taken advantage of her. Lin Yi frowned. "Who are you? If Zhou Ruoming didn't invite you, then get lost." The arrogant Emily was petrified. This bastard actually asked me who I am? Doesn't he know that I, Emily, am a first-rate celebrity in the country? Although I'm still far from being a first-rate celebrity and can't be compared to those kings and queens, there aren't many people in the country who don't know me. Languza came over and whispered, "Boss, what's the use of this silly woman's autographed photo? Is it for wiping your ass?" Lin Yi couldn't help but smile. This guy is getting more and more evil, but I like it. Millie's pretty face instantly flushed red. She clenched her fists tightly. The anger in her heart was almost unbearable. Foolish woman. Using an autographed photo to wipe his ass. This bastard was going too far. Emily had never experienced such humiliation ever since she became famous. For a moment, she didn't know how to react. Although Enchanting found Languza's words funny, now was the time for him to show off. He took a step forward and shielded Emily behind him. He pointed at Languza angrily and said, "Good boy. If you have the guts, say it again and see how this young master takes care of you." Languza was overjoyed. There was actually such a good thing. He could beat people up after scolding them. This was simply too awesome. "Boss, what's the use of this stupid woman's autograph? Is it for wiping your butt?" Languza repeated loudly. Then, he looked at Enchanting with anticipation. He thought to himself, "Hurry up and do it. Hurry up. Otherwise, boss will stop me from beating you up again." Millie was about to go crazy. A big shot like her had been called a stupid woman to her face. Not only did he use her autographed photo to wipe his ass, he even said it twice in a row. 2 times. Enchanting's eyes turned cold. He swung his hand at Languza's handsome face. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't stop him if he wanted to court death. Languza had been looking forward to this for a long time, and he couldn't wait for Enchanting to act faster. Unfortunately, just as Enchanting raised his hand, the elevator doors opened again. The general manager of the Imperial Court Hotel rushed out and shouted, "Young Master Cheng, calm down. I'll definitely get this done." This time, it was Languza's turn to go crazy. This damn elevator was too much of a hindrance. Shouldn't he go and dismantle this thing first? There were a total of 4 elevators on the left and right, so it was something that could be easily dismantled. Enchanting retracted his hand. To be honest, he was also forced into a corner just now. If he didn't do something, he wouldn't be able to show his face in public in the future. However, if he really had to deal with Lin Yi and Languza himself, he still wasn't confident. If it wasn't for this, with his style of doing things, he would have already asked someone to hack these guys to death when he arrived. Why would he talk nonsense with them for so long? The general manager of the hotel wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and rushed over to Zhou Ruoming. He said, "Mr. Zhou, our Imperial Court Hotel has been booked today, so we'll have to ask you to change the venue for your wedding. If you need, we can help you contact other hotels. What do you think?" When Zhou Ruoming saw Lin Yi, he had already made up his mind and left everything to Lin Yi to handle. However, now that they were talking to him directly, he naturally had to come out and reply. "Is this how your hotel does business? The reservation fee for the Supreme Number 1 private room is 250,000 yuan a day. You should know when I start and when I end the reservation, right? When I didn't use it, you gave the private room to someone else and I didn't ask for the fee back. Now that I want to use it, you give me the same treatment. Do you really think that I, Zhou Ruoming, can be bullied at will? Zhou Ruoming was also very unhappy. It was okay that Enchanting looked down on the Zhou family, but how dare a general manager of the Imperial Court Hotel play tricks on him? The sweat on the general manager's forehead increased. He didn't mention the refund on purpose just now because he wanted to fish in troubled waters. He hoped that Zhou Ruoming wouldn't mention it under the pressure of Enchanting. As Zhou Ruoming had said, he had given the Supreme Number 1 to someone else and cheated Zhou Ruoming of the reservation fee. Now, even if he wanted to refund it, he couldn't. Mr. Zhou, I can refund the fee for today. Although you had a reservation, the entire Imperial Court Hotel has been booked by Lord Cheng, so your reservation has to be invalid. We can't do anything about it. I hope you can understand. The general manager gritted his teeth. It was fine to refund the fee for today, but it was impossible for him to get the previous one back. Lin Yi raised his hand to stop Zhou Ruoming from talking. He looked at the general manager coldly. If your Imperial Court Hotel is going to do business like this, then there's no need for it to continue. The general manager was shocked. He felt a chill in his heart, but he still braced himself and said, "Are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? How dare you criticize the management of the Imperial Court Hotel? Leave now. We don't welcome you. Please leave now." Chapter 5780. Originally, Lin Yi wanted to throw him out himself, but seeing how eager Languza was, he couldn't bear to continue pressuring him, so he let him do it. "All right. Boss, just wait and see. Don't worry when I, Languza, do it." Before he could finish his sentence, Languza had already grabbed the general manager's tie like a chicken and lifted him up. After thinking for a while, he asked, "Boss, should I throw him out the window or the door?" That fellow's face was pale with fear. After being grabbed by Languza, he could not move at all. He could not even speak. He could not even beg for mercy even if he wanted to, let alone anything else. If he was really thrown out of the window by Languza, it would be good if he was left with a pile of minced meat after falling from such a high floor. Throw him out the door. Lin Yi waved his hand casually. It was fine to kill a small fry like this, but he didn't want to kill easily, so he showed mercy again. "Oh," Languza said. He estimated the strength in his hand, then lightly threw the general manager out. With a whoosh, the general manager flew out and crashed into the door of an elevator, collapsing the alloy door. However, the guy was fine. Languza's strength was transmitted to the elevator door, so his body didn't suffer much. "Nice. I destroyed one." Languza secretly gave himself a thumbs up. Of course, he did it on purpose to destroy an elevator that was always in his way. Unfortunately, there were still 3 elevators left. Languza was already looking at Enchanting and Ai Meili with evil intentions. As for not hitting women, sorry, in the eyes of the aquatic dragon, humans were humans. There was no difference between men and women. Enchanting looked at Languza with fear. He was glad that he didn't make a move just now. Otherwise, he would definitely be in trouble. This blue-blonde guy was quite strong. Although he couldn't tell his specific level, he was definitely not weaker than Enchanting. Emily didn't know the severity of the situation. Although the hotel's general manager had caused the elevator door to collapse, in her opinion, it was only because the material of the elevator door wasn't good. Otherwise, the general manager wouldn't have been able to stand up and run away so quickly. This is too presumptuous. Young Master Cheng, who are they? How dare they be so arrogant? Do you want me to find someone to deal with them? With my reputation, I don't believe that I can't find someone who can deal with them. Emily gritted her teeth and said, not forgetting to show off her wide network of friends. Before Enchanting could speak, more people came out of the elevator. This time, it was two big bosses in the business world. Sensing that the atmosphere wasn't right, they turned around and wanted to leave. However, Enchanting had already noticed them. If they left now, they would most likely offend Enchanting. Young Master Cheng and Miss Emily, what's going on? One of them saw that he couldn't leave, so he directly greeted Enchanting. The other was also a smart person. He immediately greeted Enchanting. No matter what, they couldn't afford to offend Enchanting. As for the group that was confronting Enchanting, they wouldn't easily get involved before they understood the situation. Enchanting only nodded. He wasn't even interested in saying anything. These two were considered decent people in the business world, but in today's guest list, they were only small characters at the bottom. The two elites of the business world were a little embarrassed, but they didn't dare to express their dissatisfaction. They could only stand at the side and pretend to look at the decorations around them. At this time, the other two elevators opened one after another. A few more groups of people came in. They were all young people, and they seemed to know each other. As they came out, they laughed and chatted with each other. Brother Cheng, you're here so early. Are you here to see Miss Emily? The young man in front laughed and waved at Enchanting. Enchanting finally smiled and said, you're all here, and in a group. Are you afraid that people won't know that you're the 5 little dragons of the new aristocratic families? Ha ha ha. What 5 little dragons? With a big dragon like you, Brother Cheng, what are we 5 little dragons? Another man with a strong body laughed and said. These two groups of people were led by the 5 second generation of the new aristocratic families. The rest were all their followers. They often hung out together, so they were very familiar with each other. Hey, isn't that Liang Ruoqing from the Liang family? She's getting married here today? One of them who knew Liang Ruoqing said with some surprise. After all, they were all from the new aristocratic families, so they would more or less have some interactions. Brother Cheng, didn't you book this place for young Master Han? Why is someone from the Liang family holding a wedding here? The well-built man from before asked in a low voice. Enchanting's face darkened again. He snorted and said, I, Enchanting, don't have enough face. They snatched the number 1 private room and refused to give it up. This is simply preposterous. The 5 little dragons immediately exploded. They stepped forward with righteous indignation and said, Liang Ruoqing, even your father, Liang Bufan, has to be careful when he sees Brother Cheng, let alone a little girl like you. Let us give you a piece of advice. Hurry up and leave. Otherwise, when young Master Han arrives, it will be even more embarrassing for you. Liang Ruoqing's face was a little pale. Although she knew Lin Yi's strength, she was not facing a new aristocratic family, but an alliance of new aristocratic families. She didn't care about it herself, but Liang family was there after all. She didn't want to bring trouble to her family, and that wasn't the result she wanted. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, where did these 5 little worms come from? They're really annoying. That's right. Boss, do you want me to throw them out as well? This kind of trash actually dared to call himself a dragon? I'm dying of laughter. Languza revealed a very creepy smile. He clenched his fist and was about to make a move. Even I, a flood dragon, don't dare to call myself a dragon. How dare you weaklings call yourselves the 5 little dragons in front of me? This is simply an insult to the dragon clan. Brother Cheng, where did these 2 idiots come from? How dare they act tough in front of us brothers? Even if young Master Han comes, he will have to give us some face. Who the hell are these 2? Why don't we cripple this brat first? The 5 little dragons who had been quiet all this while suddenly exploded. It seemed like they liked to scold people. Chapter 5781. If Lin Yi didn't want Languza to make a move, he could naturally stop him. Since he didn't stop him, it meant that he didn't mind him making a move. Lin Yi smiled, don't hold back if you can't. A bunch of clowns, other than wasting time, there was no other use. Lin Yi didn't want to beat around the bush with them anymore. Languza was overjoyed. He knew that Lin Yi agreed for him to make a move. But at this time, people came out from the damn elevator again. Languza swore that when he left, he would definitely tear these elevators apart. But when he saw that it was Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi, Languza calmed down. He couldn't be angry at his own people, right? Boss, we're here. Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi walked over neatly and bowed respectfully to greet Lin Yi. Lin Yi found it funny. These two brats did it on purpose, right? They didn't usually have this kind of attitude. At his level, did he still need to act like this? Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group's Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi are here to congratulate Mr. Zhou Ruoming and Ms. Liang Ruoqing for getting married. The hotel arranged for the greeter to hide outside the door and watch the show. But when he saw these two coming personally with gifts and even taking the initiative to greet Lin Yi, he didn't dare to be slow. He immediately raised his head and announced his name. A small figure like him might not be able to come into contact with the 5 little dragons of the noble houses, but the 2 co-directors of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, as long as one stayed in Songshan, he or she would know about them. They were the big shots that could shake Songshan with just a stomp of their feet. And Jinqing's expression changed. In Songshan, there was no one who didn't know about Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi. And the person behind him had reminded him again and again that he could offend anyone but the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Group. Otherwise, no one could save him. He didn't expect these two to come personally. He never heard of Zhou Ruoming interacting with them before. Wait, Kang Xiaobo and Lai Changyi called that pretentious brat boss? And Jianqing suddenly realized that he had overlooked too many things. At this moment, there was even some fear in his eyes. Zhou Ruoming, why didn't you inform us that you're getting married? We're schoolmates after all. Kang Xiaobo received Lin Yi's call and came to support Zhou Ruoming. So after greeting Lin Yi, he went over to hug Zhou Ruoming enthusiastically. Ruoming, naturally, knew that the two had come for Lin Yi's sake, but he was still very happy. And Jianqing's people were coming in waves, and Ruoming's side was getting weaker and weaker. Even if Lin Yi could take on all of them, it still wasn't enough. Now with these 2 underlings of Lin Yi, the atmosphere was completely different. The guy who was slapped by Languza didn't suffer any serious injuries. At this moment, he walked over with his teeth bared and roared at his underlings, "Are you all dead? Don't you have any reaction when you see this young master being hit?" Before he could finish speaking, Languza's figure flashed and he had already appeared in the middle of his followers like a ghost. In the blink of an eye, these fellows had all been knocked down by him. Moreover, he had piled them up like a human pyramid. Now it's much more spacious. Languza clapped his hands in satisfaction. Then he suddenly thought of something and asked the guy, "By the way, how do you want them to react? I'll help you see if they can still do it." And Jianqing and his underlings were completely dumbfounded. At first, they thought that Languza was quite strong, but they didn't experience it firsthand. Now, they finally understood that this wasn't someone they could fight against. No matter how powerful they were, in front of this kind of strength, they were nothing. Plus, and Jianqing already knew about Lin Yi's identity. The one behind him had warned him before, and now that they were facing each other directly, he didn't know what to do. The 2 people who came after Maiden Jianqing completely confirmed Lin Yi's identity. The 2 superstars of China, absolute empress level, Su Shihan and Cheng Yi. When the 2 beauties walked out of the elevator, the 5 little dragons on Zhang Wen's side all shrunk their heads and willingly turned into little insects. They couldn't help it. These 2 might be superstars to ordinary people, but as young masters of noble houses, if they didn't know their real identities, they would have died 100 times already. Emily saw Su Shihan and Cheng Yi and quickly went up and nodded with a face full of smiles, "Shihan sis, Yi sis." Su Shihan nodded with a smile, but Cheng Yi said coldly, "Who are you?" Millie's face instantly turned red. She was, after all, an A-list celebrity, yet Cheng Yi asked her who she was? This was too much of a slap to her face. The problem was that she didn't dare to get angry. A first-tier celebrity might sound powerful, but compared to a superstar like Cheng Yi, an international empress, there was no comparison at all. Not to mention Cheng Yi's terrifying background, just the disparity in status between the two of them was enough. As long as Cheng Yi said that she wanted to ban Emily, an A-list celebrity like her would immediately fade into the crowd. It was guaranteed that there would not be any ripples. Sis, I'm Emily, we met at this year's China Golden Melody Awards. Emily was going crazy, but she had to smile and talk. I don't remember. Cheng Yi said straightforwardly. Then, she pulled her to the side. If it was another occasion, Cheng Yi might communicate with her. After all, they were in the same circle. It wasn't a bad thing to help the younger generation. But since Emily was here to fight against Lin Yi, Cheng Yi was already giving her a lot of face by not beating her up. There was no way Cheng Yi was going to be nice to her. Lin Yi, why didn't you call us when you came to attend your friend's wedding? Sister Shirhan and I prepared a song to congratulate the newlyweds. This must be the bride and groom, right? They are indeed a perfect match. Cheng Yi's expression had changed completely as she walked towards Lin Yi. That smile on her face made Emily's teeth itch even more. When Zhou Ruoming heard Cheng Yi's praise, he couldn't help but blush. Liang Ruoqing was a beautiful woman. As for being a perfect match, to a 10,000-year repeat student like him, wasn't that insulting? Emily remembered how arrogant she'd been in front of Lin Yi before, thinking that he was just a pretty boy. Her intestines turned green with regret. This bastard was so damn annoying. He was so powerful, but he pretended to be a loser. Would he die if he didn't act cool? Chapter 5782. If Lin Yi knew what she was thinking, he'd be speechless. He was a natural tall, rich, and handsome man. When had he ever pretended to be a loser? When Sun Jingyi came over, and Jianqing was already numb. Since he was sure that it was Lin Yi, then he should be thinking about how to keep his life, and not fight for that damned Supreme Room 1. The 5 dragons didn't know who Lin Yi was, but there was no way they wouldn't know Sun Jingyi. She was the leader of a noble house that was even higher than theirs. Wouldn't they be looking for death if they didn't know her? Yet, this powerful woman was the same as the 2 superstars, Su Shirhan and Cheng Yi, walking to Lin Yi with a smile on her face. She didn't even glance at them, only talking to Lin Yi and congratulating the bride and groom. What put them in a difficult position was that the ones following behind Sun Jingyi were the legendary Hidden House Yu Zubing, Hidden House Zhuang Miao Qiang, and Hidden House Pai Zhihai. They didn't dare to look at them anymore, and just kneeled on the ground with their followers, waiting for their punishment. Lin Yi didn't have time to care about them, and told Zhou Ruoming to get everyone to sit down, so that they wouldn't block the door. All the famous people that Jianqing had invited, other than the 5 dragons, immediately became guests of Zhou Ruoming's wedding after seeing this situation. It was impossible for someone to get to this level without good eyesight. And Jianqing stood in front of the 5 dragons with a dazed look. Because they were all kneeling, he stood out. Lin Yi was still there, and he didn't dare to sneak away. When the elevator opened again, and Jianqing's eyes finally lit up when he saw who it was. He quickly greeted, Master Han. You're here. Young Master Han was the big shot that Jianqing was going to invite to the banquet today. However, after knowing Lin Yi's identity, he knew that he was an idiot. Now, his only hope was that young Master Han could put in a good word for him so that he wouldn't be killed by Lin Yi. Lin Yi's eyes flashed. He didn't think that the young Master Han and Jianqing mentioned was Han Xiaopa. This brat came to Songshan to see Lin Yi, but why was he with Jianqing? Boss. Han Xiaopa ignored Jianqing and walked up to Lin Yi with a guilty look on his face. Obviously, he had heard what happened here. Lin Yi had only told Kang Xiaobo to find some powerful people to support Zhou Ruoming, so that he could live a more comfortable life in Songshan. He didn't think that this brat would find all the noble houses in Songshan, and naturally, Han Xiaopa was on the list that Kang Xiaobo notified. Han Xiaopa, it seems like you're doing quite well now. Lin Yi said faintly, still feeling a little uncomfortable. And Jianqing knew that this was related to Jiang Wen. There was no way that Han Xiaopa didn't know that Lin Yi and Jiang Wen were enemies. Jiang Wen was one of the main leaders of this incident, too. If Han Xiaopa and Jianqing had a good deal, Lin Yi would definitely have some thoughts about it. Boss, let me explain. Han Xiaopa shook his head with a bitter smile and said sincerely, Boss, House Han is where we are today because of you, boss. If it weren't for you, House Han would have been taken over by the other hidden houses a long time ago. No matter what, Xiaopa would never do anything that would betray you, boss. Please believe me on this, boss. Lin Yi didn't say anything, but he felt much calmer inside. If Han Xiaopa really wanted to work with Jiang Wen and the center, he would only be disappointed. House Han alone wasn't enough to change the situation, but for his follower, Han Xiaopa, Lin Yi really didn't want him to go down the wrong path. Since Han Xiaopa had something to say, Lin Yi would listen to him. Boss, this Jianqing has a lot of rare treasures in his hands. You can't find anything better than what he has, so if this new house wants to establish itself in Songshan, I have to give them some face. After all, only the An Central Group has those treasures. Of course, I've also warned him not to touch anyone related to Boss, or I'll be the first to deal with him. Han Xiaopa explained simply and logically, and Lin Yi understood what he meant. This An Central Group was built by Jiang Wen using the center's resources, and Jianqing was his spokesperson. This guy really was like a ghost that wouldn't go away, running into him wherever he went. But Lin Yi didn't find it strange. After all, the center's second base was in the outskirts of Songshan, and it was normal for the An Central Group to use Songshan as a base. With the wormhole, the center could send technology from the common world to Sky-class island, leading a technological revolution. Of course, they could also send things from Sky-class island to the common world. Even some broken herbs were top-notch treasures in the common world, and this was a monopoly. Jiang Wen wouldn't be Jiang Wen if he didn't take advantage of this opportunity to get rich. Lin Yi nodded, I understand, I'll let it go this time. Be careful when you interact with the people from the center in the future. This isn't something you should be doing. I understand, boss, I'll be careful in the future. Han Xiaopa sighed in relief and bowed. Compared to Lin Yi, nothing else mattered. No matter how many treasures the An Central Group had, Han Xiaopa wouldn't work with them anymore. Luckily, he wasn't too involved this time, or it'd be hard for him to get out of this. Lin Yi looked at Jianqing faintly. Did you send a message to Jiang Wen? When is he coming? Jianqing was startled. He thought that he'd done it discreetly enough, but Lin Yi still found him. Lin Yi, since you know that when bro is coming, you should restrain yourself a little. Don't think that I'm afraid of you. Jianqing didn't bother hiding anymore since he was found out. He roared in a low voice. When Jiang Wen mentioned Lin Yi to him, he did warn him not to mess with Lin Yi, but when it came to him and Lin Yi, he naturally wouldn't say that he was afraid of Lin Yi. The result of this was that Jianqing thought that his Wen bro was afraid of Lin Yi, but in reality, he had Lin Yi in his hands. Because of this, he didn't hesitate to call Jiang Wen for help when Han Xiaopa completely gave up on him. Chapter 5783. Lin Yi frowned slightly and flicked 2 strands of pure energy at Jianqing's knees, forcing him to kneel with the 5 dragons. You talk too much. Kneel first and let Jiang Wen come and get them. Lin Yi said faintly before turning to Han Xiaopa, Xiaopa, you go in and sit first. We'll talk later. Boss, aren't you going in? Why don't I stay here with you? It's rare for me to see you, boss, so it'll be good to talk more. Han Xiaopa said with a smile. Lin Yi didn't blame him, which made him relax and feel better. Lin Yi shrugged, forget it then. Let's go in and sit together. I wanted to wait for Jiang Wen to come so he wouldn't ruin the atmosphere, but this guy isn't worth it. Let's go in first. Languza had wanted to go in and eat for a long time. These guys were all soft-footed shrimps, begging for mercy on the ground. Since they couldn't fight, of course they had to eat as much as they could. But before going in, he didn't forget to threaten them with a glare, kneel properly. If anyone dares to walk away, I'll destroy your entire family. This was, of course, just a casual remark. Even if Languza wanted to do so, Lin Yi wouldn't allow him to do so. But the 5 dragons didn't know that. Seeing how fierce Languza was, they immediately nodded, indicating that they wouldn't leave. Languza nodded in satisfaction and followed behind Lin Yi. Then, he realized that he couldn't keep up with Lin Yi anymore. The moment he entered, Lin Yi was like the moon surrounded by stars. Many people wanted to get to know Lin Yi, and if he didn't use some pure energy, he couldn't separate them at all. Lin Yi brushed them off twice and got impatient. He released his pure energy to block the people outside and walked in on his own. Hey, this guy is quite fast. Lin Yi said to himself as he walked in. He turned around and walked out. His soul had already sensed that Jiang Wen had arrived at the hotel's rooftop. With the speed of the flying saucer, it wasn't strange for him to arrive so quickly. "Ah, Cheng, why are you kneeling here? Who's King tired of living, daring to touch our clan's people?" And Jiang Wen was enraged when he saw Enchanting kneeling on the ground. With a wave of his hand, the 10 bio-humans behind him blocked the entrance of the room. Without waiting for Enchanting to speak, Lin Yi leisurely walked out and lightly said, "I'm the one who touched your family. What are you going to do about it?" Jiang Wen shuddered. Lin Yi's voice was like a nightmare to him. The center had just signed a truce with Lin Yi, but that didn't guarantee that Lin Yi wouldn't kill him. "Lin Yi, you're King tired of living. How dare you touch our clan's people?" Jiang Wen roared suddenly and raised his leg to kick Enchanting's face. He yelled even louder, "If you want to King hit him, then hit him seriously. What's the point of making him kneel? Do it like this, understand? Don't give me face in the future. You can just kill a bastard like him." The 5 dragons behind Enchanting almost fainted when they saw Jiang Wen kicking and punching Enchanting. What the hell was with this line? Weren't you Enchanting's brother? Lin Yi was speechless. So making Enchanting kneel was giving you face? He'd finally seen what it meant to be a despicable person. "Alright, stop acting here. Tell me why you're here, okay? You're not here to beat up your brother, are you?" Lin Yi looked at Jiang Wen with a smile that wasn't a smile on his face. They'd just signed an agreement, but it wouldn't be bad to beat him up if he had the chance. Jiang Wen glanced at the room and said decisively, "Isn't there a wedding here? I'm here to give the gift." Yes, I'm here to give the gift. Beating this kid up is just a convenience. Gift? That's not bad. You're considerate. I wonder how much money you're giving." Lin Yi smiled faintly as he looked at Jiang Wen meaningfully. Jiang Wen smiled dryly, "I came out in a hurry, so I didn't bring much cash. I'm just here to show my sincerity. 100 million, right? It's a little, but I can't really look down on the groom's behalf. I'll reluctantly accept it for him." Lin Yi's lips twitched as he reached out his hand and hooked his finger at Jiang Wen, signaling him to hurry up and hand over the money. Jiang Wen almost coughed up blood. He only wanted to give 1 million, alright? 100 million was a little. Not feeling down on the groom's behalf? And reluctantly accepted it? Do you think I'm a sucker? If saliva could drown Lin Yi, Jiang Wen would have spat it all over his face. Unfortunately, Jiang Wen, who was used to being extorted, didn't even have the courage to think about bargaining with Lin Yi. He was afraid that 100 million would turn into 1 billion, and that'd be a huge loss. "Give me your account number, I'll transfer the money." Jiang Wen held his breath. He'd already given Zhou Ruoming's father-in-law a huge sum of money, so he didn't mind giving Zhou Ruoming some more. He'd just treated as pity for Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing, taking care of their dowry and betrothal gifts. Languza, who was eating his steak, got close to Lin Yi and said, "Boss, this guy must have earned a lot of dirty money, he should have asked for more." Jiang Wen really wanted to choke Languza to death. This bastard couldn't even eat properly. What the hell was he talking about? Lin Yi knew that Jiang Wen must have earned a lot of money from those useless herbs on Sky Class Island, and he could easily sell them for a few $100,000. But he knew when to stop and didn't continue squeezing Jiang Wen dry. There'd be chances in the future, after all. Lin Yi really did have Zhou Ruoming's account number. He didn't know why he'd brought it last time, but he could use it now. Jiang Wen didn't want to stay any longer. He transferred the money and prepared to leave with Enchanting. Lin Yi smiled. Jiang Wen, you came with the gifts. Why didn't Zhao Long and Xue Jianfeng come? Don't tell me your title of Commander-in-Chief is just an empty title. Your subordinates don't even know how to follow you. Lin Yi, that's enough. Jiang Wen was on the verge of crying. Wasn't he the one paying for the two guys? Lin Yi said expressionlessly. What do you mean that's enough? You better give me an explanation today, or you won't be leaving. Jiang Wen wanted to slap himself on the face. What the hell was he talking about? What the hell was he talking about? Chapter 5784. Letting the two of them bleed a little was better than losing Jiang Wen's alone. It was better to have everyone happy than to be happy alone. After thinking it through, Jiang Wen didn't wait for Lin Yi to rush him. He took out his phone and called Zhao Long and Xue Jianfeng. He didn't say anything else but just told them to come to the Imperial Hotel's room 1. He had something important to discuss. And Jianxing really wanted to die when he saw this. It was one thing to get punched and kicked by Jiang Wen, but the person he relied on the most was gone. It was as if the sky was falling down on him. After a while, Zhao Long and Xue Jianfeng really did come over like idiots. Before Lin Yi even said anything, Jiang Wen said that he'd come with 100 million and it was up to them. What else could they do with Lin Yi here? They could only pinch their noses and accept the gift. After sending them away, Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time. He went on stage and clapped his hands. All right, today is Mr. Zhou Ruoming Miss Liang Ruoqing's wedding. Most of the relatives and friends are here. I'm Lin Yi, the host of the wedding. I actually don't know what a host is for, because I've never been married before. Kind laughter came from the audience. Who didn't know who Lin Yi was? To be able to see him officiate a wedding, it was a worthwhile trip. Lin Yi's forehead was starting to sweat. What the hell was this wedding officiator? It was even more tiring than fighting with the giants of the opening period. Speaking of which, didn't that guy have a sense of humor at all? Wasn't it a little too stiff? God knew that Lin Yi had never thought about something like this in his entire life. He swore to himself that he'd never be a goddamn wedding host ever again. In actuality, Zhou Ruoming had hired a professional host. Lin Yi didn't need to go on stage to steal his job, but since he was already there, Zhou Ruoming wouldn't be stupid enough to let him come down. He could only continue to be a host. Fortunately, Lin Yi reluctantly carried on with the wedding. To Zhou Ruoming and Liang Ruoqing, this wasn't important. What was important was that Lin Yi really treated them as friends. Otherwise, with Lin Yi's status, why would he do something like this? Moreover, he had invited so many prominent people to support him. Zhou Ruoming wouldn't believe that they came because of the Zhou family. Even when the Zhou family was at its peak, they were nothing in the eyes of these people, let alone now. But after today, perhaps the Zhou family would rise again. Lin Yi had arranged such a big event. Even if the brothers Zhou Ruoming and Zhou Ruoguang didn't want to control the underground world of Songshan, they would definitely become a powerful family. When countless fireworks rose from the rooftop of the Huangting Hotel, this simple but grand wedding was officially over. Lin Yi, who had fulfilled his promise, could go back in peace. 2 days later, Han Jingjing finally organized the information about the wormhole. She had a general idea of it. Lin Yi Gij, I think I understand now. The research on the wormhole isn't progressing much. The known method of teleportation is to convert the structure of an object into data, then disassemble the object into its smallest particles and teleport it to the other side of the wormhole. Then, according to the data of the structure, the object can be perfectly reconstructed and restored to its original form. Unfortunately, the research center has only found this method so far. It's impossible to teleport a living body. Lin Yi also thought it was a pity. If they could teleport a living body, then they wouldn't need to project their primordial spirit. They could teleport directly, and the people in the secular world could also enter Heavenly Island through the wormhole. But Lin Yi didn't dwell on this too much. It was already amazing enough that they could teleport objects. At least they wouldn't have to worry about communication in the future. At the same time, Lin Yi also understood why the center clearly had the ability to connect the two planes, but there were no people coming and going. There were only a few people in the secular world, and they could only endure when Lin Yi came to bully them. Otherwise, the reinforcements from Heavenly Island would have arrived long ago. Lin Yi Gidge, I reckon that this wormhole was discovered by the people from the center on Heavenly Island, and it was only discovered before the rise of the Central Chamber of Commerce. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a large number of things from the secular world to appear during that period of time. The secular world didn't have any powerful methods to improve their cultivation before, and they only recently cultivated experts. Han Jingjing speculated, but it was already very close to the truth. Since you know the situation of this wormhole, let's go back first. I've been away from Heavenly Island for too long, it's time to go back. Lin Yi was really eager to go back. In the past, there had been all kinds of things that had been dragged on, and it was already time for him to settle them. Han Jingjing agreed. At this stage, the wormhole was just a useless thing. It didn't have much meaning if it couldn't teleport living things. However, it was better to make use of it when she could. Han Jingjing had already prepared a purchase list. She would find someone to send it to Big Brother Dafeng later and ask him to help her teleport the things to Heavenly Island. Most of the things on this list were things that Han Jingjing needed, including all kinds of specialized electronic equipment and components, so that she could continue her research on the Heaven Step Island. The other half were all kinds of food and technological products from the secular world. These were gifts for people. Things from the secular world were very popular on the Heaven Step Island. With these latest models, Han Jingjing could make more and more powerful equipment, and it would be more efficient to study the wormhole. If there was anything she lacked, she could directly ask Big Brother Dafeng to continue to help her purchase it. This way, with the support of an endless supply of materials, Han Jingjing could do anything with half the effort. She would no longer have to worry about the lack of technological materials. Well, there's no need to say goodbye. I've said enough in the past 2 days. Lin Yi said to the people gathered in the villa with a smile. Lin Yi had already given them the cultivation resources that should be given to them, whether it was medicinal pills, spirit jades, or star ink milk. Perhaps when he came back next time, the people here would already be in the gold core stage. As for the nascent soul stage and the gold core, they wouldn't need it. Lin Yi, how long will it take for you to come back this time? Sun Jingyi asked with some reluctance. Although the two had said goodbye in private, when Lin Yi really left, she still couldn't let go. Chapter 5785. Lin Yi smiled faintly. I'll definitely come back within a year. If I can find that cheap master of mine, Zhang Liju, I might be able to come back even earlier. A year, of course, referred to the agreement with the center. At this time, everyone was actually blaming Lan Xiaoru in their hearts. Why couldn't she set a shorter time for the agreement, like signing it once a month or something like that? If Lin Yi knew what they were thinking, he wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. He definitely wouldn't sign a 1-month agreement. If he had the time, he might as well just go against them. Boss, I'll definitely protect my brothers and sisters-in-law. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I won't let anything happen to them. Don't worry, boss. Chen Dongqing patted his chest and said loudly. Originally, he had always called Lin Yi Grand Master, but this way, everyone in the common world would be at the same level as his Grand Master. This seniority was too pitiful, so Lin Yi just let him call him Grand Master like Languza. Chen Dongqing, of course, was overjoyed. Although he was older than the others, going from the grandson generation to the younger brother generation was nothing to be unhappy about. Calling them brothers and sisters-in-law was no problem at all. Lin Yi nodded to Chen Dongsheng, "You'll have to worry about this. The next time I come back, I'll make your strength increase even more. Also, the thing I gave you, you must be careful. If you meet Xue Jianfeng, if you can't suppress him, you'll have to rely on this." "Yes, boss. I understand." Chen Dongsheng nodded respectfully. The thing Lin Yi was talking about was a killing aura of the 5 elements that he had condensed. He used the method of condensing qi bombs to preserve it for Chen Dongsheng to use as a trump card against Xue Jianfeng. However, this thing was very unstable. Lin Yi only dared to condense a small amount of 5 elemental killing qi to prevent it from exploding before he could use it. In any case, he just needed to catch Xue Jianfeng off guard and control him. Then Jing Jing and big brother Lin Yi will be leaving. I think we will meet again very soon. So, just pretend that we are going to an island for a vacation, and we will see each other again when we come back. Am I right? Alright, everyone, take care. Bye-bye. Han Jingjing smiled and waved at everyone. Then, she and Lin Yi transformed into their primordial spirits and activated the teleportation back to Heaven Island. Lin Yi was originally holding Han Jingjing's hand, but after transforming into a primordial spirit, he naturally couldn't continue to hold on to her hand. Both of their primordial spirits were compressed and condensed to the extreme, instantly penetrating the barrier of the plane. After a violent dizziness, Lin Yi felt his body sink slightly. Obviously, his primordial spirit had returned. Because he was used to the state of the primordial spirit body, he still felt a little uncomfortable after returning to his body. The first thing Lin Yi did when he regained consciousness was to scan the area with his divine sense. It had become his instinct, and many times, this small action could save his life. Of course, the place where he was now was absolutely safe. The Tiandan Pavilion was an industry that he built himself. Not to mention that this was Middle Island. Whether it was the will of heaven or Okuda, they were all big shots of Middle Island. Tian Chan. I'm back. Lin Yi didn't open his eyes. The corners of his mouth slightly hooked up as he said softly. Tian Chan, who was sitting on the side with her elbows on the coffee table and her palms supporting her chin, staring at Lin Yi, was suddenly shocked. She couldn't believe it and widened her eyes, for fear that this was an illusion caused by missing him too much. But the faint smile at the corner of Lin Yi's mouth made Tian Chan know that this really didn't seem to be an illusion. Ah. Lin Yi. You bad thing, are you really coming back? Hurry up and open your eyes. If you dare to lie to me, be careful that I kick you. Tian Chan suddenly rushed to the bedside and wanted to reach out and touch Lin Yi, but she was afraid that she would disturb him. For a time, she could only speak in confusion. Lin Yi's faint smile became more and more obvious, and his eyes slowly opened. The deep pupils exuded warm longing. I just came back and you want to kick me. To be honest, when I was away, did you come to kick me every day? Lin Yi opened his legs, walked down from the bed, and said with a smile. There was a burst of crisp cracking sounds like beans being fried. His body, which hadn't moved for a long time, suddenly surged with an indescribable feeling of comfort. Tian Chan's pretty face was slightly red. She snorted and said, Yeah, I came to kick you for no reason. Who told you to go away for so long and not come back? Lin Yi just smiled and didn't speak. Of course, Tian Chan was joking. She didn't have enough time to care about Lin Yi every day. How could she come to kick him for no reason? His divine sense entered the space of the jade pendant to take a look. Languza was really fine. Lin Yi was also relieved, but he didn't plan to release Languza for the time being. After all, things like the space of the jade pendant, it was fine if Tian Chan and the others knew, but if it was known by others, it would be very troublesome. On the heavenly stage island, Lin Yi's strength at the peak of the profound ascension late stage was far from being powerful. When he came back after going out to sea next time, the origin of Languza could be rationalized. In addition, Jiao Yazi really disappeared again. Fortunately, Lin Yi chatted with him for a long time before he left. The next time he went to the secular world, there shouldn't be any unhappiness, right? In contrast, the ghost Azure Dragon's spirit showed signs of awakening. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. When there was time, Lin Yi would have a good chat with him. While Lin Yi was in a daze, Tian Chan pulled the rope of the bell below. Although she wanted to spend more time with Lin Yi alone, Sydney was worried about Lin Yi just like her. As a good sister, she must inform Sydney as soon as possible. Hearing the bell ring, Sydney, who was busy downstairs, hurried up. She was still thinking that the last time the bell rang, it was Lin Yi who had resumed his cultivation state. Did he wake up this time? When she saw Lin Yi standing there with a smile, she knew that she guessed right, but she didn't know what to do for a while. She could only stand at the door and smile happily. Sydney, what are you standing there for? As a little wife, seeing that her husband woke up, shouldn't you come and serve him quickly? Tian Chan smiled mischievously. When Lin Yi came back, it seemed that everything became better. She was also in the mood to joke with her good sister. Chapter 5786. Lin Yi is back. Lin Yi. Little junior brother. Shanghai Laner rushed in. She had been accompanying Han Jingjing's body next door. When she heard movement here, she immediately ran over. Lon, you are also here. Lin Yi greeted her with a smile. Then he pulled Sydney in and said, sit down and talk. I haven't been back for a long time. There are a lot of things I don't know. Tell me about it. Shanghai Laner was originally in high spirits. Suddenly, she was startled and said, hey, Lin Yi, Jingjing didn't come back with you? How come she hasn't woken up yet? Lin Yi also felt a little strange. His divine sense had already discovered that Han Jingjing was next door. She was still in a cultivation posture. Obviously, her primordial spirit hadn't returned. Perhaps because his primordial spirit was stronger, he woke up first. That's why he didn't say anything. Now that Shanghai Laner mentioned it, Lin Yi felt that something was wrong. The return of the projected primordial spirit shouldn't have much to do with the strength of the primordial spirit. He had been awake for a while. Why hadn't Han Jingjing woken up yet? I'll go see Jingjing. She came back with me. She should be able to wake up soon. Lin Yi said with some uncertainty. Then he quickly walked next door. Shanghai Laner, Tian Chan, and Sydney hurriedly followed. When they heard that Han Jingjing came back with Lin Yi, they couldn't help but worry in their hearts. Not to mention that Han Jingjing had a good relationship with them, just the fact that she risked her primordial spirit to save Lin Yi was enough to make these sisters admire her. Now, they certainly didn't want anything to happen to Han Jingjing. In a flash, the four arrived at Han Jingjing's room. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He used his divine sense to sense Han Jingjing's sea of consciousness. There was no trace of her primordial spirit. It seemed that she hadn't returned. What happened? They had clearly returned together, so why was Jingjing like this? Where did her primordial spirit go? Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a little anxious. Even if Han Jingjing's speed was slower, she should have returned by now. Could it be that something went wrong in the process of teleporting back? If Han Jingjing had projected normally before, Lin Yi wouldn't have been so worried. However, she had used some tricks to deceive the projection, so it wasn't surprising that something went wrong when she came back. Because of this, Lin Yi became more and more worried. Lin Yi, what's going on? Why didn't Jingjing wake up? Is there a problem? Shangguan Laner was a little anxious. Her relationship with Han Jingjing was very good. After all, they had been together for a period of time. Han Jingjing's position in her heart was no different from Ning Xuefei's. Lin Yi was also very worried, but he didn't dare show it. He could only force himself to calm down and say, "There's no problem." Jing Jing might be weaker than me, so it will take longer for her to return. You don't have to worry, she will wake up soon. Shangguan Laner looked at Lin Yi with some doubt. However, since he didn't seem to have lied to Miss Shangguan before, she finally believed what Lin Yi said. Tian Chan also said, Jing Jing will be fine. Look, she is still in a cultivation posture. If something happened, she will be like Lin Yi last time and directly lie down. This explanation was obviously more convincing. Shangguan Lan heaved a sigh of relief and said, that's right. Sister Tianchan is right. If something had happened to Jing Jing, she would have been lying down by now. Speaking of this, Shangguan Laner turned to ask Lin Yi, what happened to you in the secular world? Why did Jing Jing have to run to save you? Lin Yi wasn't too sure when he'd laid down and sat up, but he could roughly guess that when he'd fallen into unconsciousness, his main body had fallen into unconsciousness as well, and when he woke up, he'd be able to sit up and maintain his training posture. Speaking of which, his main body was already at the peak of the profound ascension late stage. It seemed that the upgrade of the spirit could really lead to the upgrade of the physical body. Unfortunately, the divine knowledge fruit was no longer useful to the current Lin Yi. When refining the divine knowledge tumor, the residual energy of the divine knowledge fruit accumulated in the tumor was far more than a normal divine knowledge fruit. Coupled with the energy formed by the refined divine knowledge tumor, it was normal for Lin Yi's spirit to be pushed to the profound ascension great perfection, but in the end, it only advanced by one level and stopped at the peak of the profound ascension late stage. From then on, Lin Yi knew that the divine knowledge fruit was not unlimited to improve the level of the spirit. Even if he ate all the remaining divine knowledge fruits, it was estimated that his spirit could not continue to advance. Seeing Shanghai Laner's curious expression, Lin Yi could only shrug and say, it's a long story. Don't worry about it now. I will slowly tell you the details after I went to the secular world. Do you want to call Big Brother and Okuda Island Master over to listen together? Tian Chan also wanted to know what happened to Lin Yi, but she understood Lin Yi's thoughts. Since he was back, it was reasonable for him to inform the will of heaven and Okuda Island. Moreover, Han Jingjing had not woken up, so he had to ask the two of them. Tian Chan knew very well that this matter was definitely not so simple. She only mentioned it to reassure Shanghai Laner. Lin Yi nodded and said, yes, I really want to talk to these two brothers. When I went to the secular world this time, I found a place that seems to have a lot to do with the Heaven Stage Island. If I ask them, I may be able to find some clues. That's good, I will immediately invite the two of them over. Tian Chan did not ask much and immediately arranged for people to invite the will of heaven and Okuda Island. Shanghai Laner was very curious and asked all sorts of questions. She was not very interested in places related to the Heaven Stage Island, but she was especially interested in things related to the secular world. When she was with Han Jingjing before, Shanghai Laner asked a lot about these things, but she still could not get tired of listening. Now that Lin Yi was here, the effect was naturally better. In order to divert Shanghai Laner's worry about Han Jingjing, Lin Yi did not refuse. He randomly picked some interesting things about the secular world and told her. Sure enough, she listened with great interest. Even Sydney, a person from the secular world, was the same. After all, she grew up in the Snow Valley. When it came to matters of the secular world, she really did not know much more than Shanghai Laner. Chapter 5787. Soon, the will of heaven and Okuda arrived together. Although it was a bit inappropriate to continue staying in Han Jingjing's room, Lin Yi had no choice but to let them meet here in order to ask about her condition. Brother Okuda, Big Brother Tian, you are here. Seeing the two of them enter, Lin Yi stood up and cupped his fists to greet them. He knew that it was all thanks to them taking care of him. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dan Pavilion might not be able to maintain such a stable situation. It's good that Lin brothers are back, we were very worried. Okuda laughed and quickly stepped forward, shaking hands with Lin Yi. Previously, Okuda wanted to befriend Lin Yi, and this time, he did not dare to be negligent. There was not a second person on Heaven Stage Island who could project their soul into the secular world for so long. Moreover, during the process of soul projection, their body actually continuously leveled up, which was even more shocking. Okuda, of course, wanted to befriend Lin-Yi even more. The will of heaven did not say much, just smiled and greeted Lin-Yi with a nod. With their relationship, it was not an exaggeration to say that they were friends of life and death, so there was no need to stand on ceremony. These days, thanks to Brother Okuda and Big Brother Tian for taking care of me. We are all on the same side, so there is no need to say those polite words. Lin-Yi invited the two to sit down and said with a smile. Yes, that's right. We are all brothers, there is no point in being polite. Okuda said with a hearty smile, but in his heart, he was also secretly happy. If Lin-Yi said that, then he really regarded him as one of his own, and his help for such a long time was not in vain. The will of heaven waved his hand and said, "Those words really do not need to be said. What is the matter with Sister Jingjing? Why is she still not awake?" For this girl who dared to use a soft armor to try soul projection, the will of heaven was very appreciative, so he opened his mouth to ask. Okuda also asked, "Hey, didn't she take the initiative to stay in the secular world and not come back? If she came back with you, why hasn't she woken up yet?" Lin-Yi's heart sank. Okuda's words made his bad feeling more obvious. It seemed that there was really something wrong with Han Jingjing, but he did not know if there was a way to make up for it. Shangguan Laner, Tian Chan, and Sydney all showed a worried look. Okuda was a shrewd person, so he immediately understood that he had said something wrong, so he laughed and said, "It seems that Sister Jingjing's sense of direction is not very good. She should be lost on her way back. But after a while, her soul will return to her body." As soon as Lin-Yi heard this, he knew that Okuda was talking nonsense to comfort the three women, but he would not be stupid to ask about this matter. It was better to wait for this matter to be privately inquired from Okuda, but looking at Okuda's appearance, he seemed to have little understanding of this situation. Although Shanghai Laner and the others did not fully believe Okuda, they were slightly relieved. Lin-Yi took the opportunity to change the topic. "By the way, two elder brothers, this time when I went to the secular world, I accidentally found another plane. That place is called the Immemorial Small World. Although the spiritual chi is not as abundant as the Heavenly Stage Island, it is still quite good. Before I went there, the highest cultivation level there was the Yuanian Great Perfection, and only the profound Ascension Sea Beast royal family can reach it." "Oh. There is such a place? I have never heard of it." Okuda looked very interested, but in fact, he did not care too much in his heart. This was completely to cooperate with Lin-Yi to downplay the previous topic. The same was true of the will of heaven, a place where the highest cultivation level could only reach the Yuanian Great Perfection. It was just a low-level cultivation plane, nothing worth paying attention to. Although the strength of the immemorial small world was much stronger than the secular world, for them, there was not much difference between the immemorial small world and the secular world. Lin-Yi smiled faintly. "There is nothing strange about the immemorial small world. The strange thing is that the power structure of this immemorial small world is actually similar to our Heavenly Stage Island." "What do you mean by the power structure is similar?" Okuda was startled and asked with some doubts. "Let me put it this way. When I entered the immemorial small world, I became the Grand Master of the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island, and the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island is one of the sects of the North Island Alliance. The other two are the Soaring Sky sect of the North Island and the Xuanji sect of the North Island." Lin-Yi smiled faintly, stretched out his palm and bent 3 fingers in a row. Shanghai Laner was attracted by the names of these 3 sections. She was the granddaughter of the master of the Soaring Sky sect, Shanghai Tianhua. It would be strange if she did not pay attention to these 3 sects when she suddenly heard of these 3 sections. "Lin-Yi, is what you said true?" Shanghai Laner could not help but ask, her big eyes blinking a few times. Lin-Yi nodded and said, "Of course it is true. When I first heard about the 3 sects of the North Island Alliance, I also felt that it was incredible. No, I'm saying that when you go there, you become their martial granduncle? How? Shanghai Laner interrupted Lin Yi's words and asked curiously. Lin Yi did not know whether to laugh or cry. He thought that Shanghai Laner was curious about the coincidence of the names of the three sects of the North Island, but it was not the case at all. She was concerned about the fact that Lin Yi became the Grand Master. These two things were completely unrelated. It was not easy for the two of them to talk about it. Well, to be honest, these two things were actually the same thing. Lin Yi simply put the introduction of the other sects aside and continued, I became the Grand Master of the Blue Cloud sect of the North Island because their cultivation method is the cultivation method of our Blue Cloud Pavilion, and it is only an incomplete cultivation method and martial arts technique, so it takes twice the effort to cultivate with half the result. I completed the cultivation method and martial arts technique of the Blue Cloud sect, and said that I am the primordial spirit of the ancient Blue Cloud sect, so I became the Grand Master. Shanghai Laner suddenly exclaimed, there is such a thing. Not only the name is the same, but even the cultivation method is the same? If that's the case, is the soaring sect of the North Island the same as our soaring pavilion? Can I also become the Grand Master if I go there? Lin Yi smiled and thought to himself, not only are you the Grand Master of the soaring sect of the North Island, but you are also the ancestor of the Shengguan family. That's right, it is indeed like this. The soaring sect and Xuanji sect all cultivate the cultivation method and martial arts technique of our soaring pavilion and Xuanji pavilion. Of course, they are all incomplete. In addition, there is the independent Shengguan family from the soaring sect, as well as the Snow Sword faction, Five Elements sect, Okuda family, and so on. Lin Yi looked at Okuda with interest. When it came to the Okuda family, Lin Yi did not believe that he would not have any reaction. Chapter 5788. Lin brothers, you're saying that there's a Okuda family in the supreme ancient underworld? Furthermore, the cultivation techniques and martial skills they use are the remnants of our Okuda family's cultivation techniques? Okuda Shushu couldn't believe it, so he asked subconsciously. His status in the family wasn't low, but he had never heard of any supreme ancient underworld, and he had never heard of any other bloodline of the Okuda family wandering outside. That's right, and I can tell you that all the sects in the supreme ancient underworld that can be found on the Heaven Step Island are using the remnants of their respective sects' cultivation techniques, including the Okuda family and the Shengguan family. This was also what Lin Yi wanted to explain, so he also explained a few of the Okuda family's martial skills and cultivation techniques in detail. Okuda Shushu and the Will of Heaven were amazed, and they started guessing the relationship between the supreme ancient underworld and the Heaven Step Island. As for the bloodline that was wandering outside, Okuda Shushu was only surprised for a moment, but he didn't care about it. Their family had many branches, so it wasn't a big deal to have one more bloodline. However, the supreme ancient underworld was quite interesting. Brother Lin Yi, our Okuda family is an ancient family. Although I don't know about this, the elders in our family might have some information about it. Once I go back and ask them, I might be able to find out more about the relationship between the supreme ancient underworld and the Heaven Step Island. Okuda Shushu understood that Lin Yi wanted to get some information from them, so he immediately promised. On the other hand, the Will of Heaven shrugged his shoulders and said, Brother, you know that I don't have any family to ask, and I've never heard about this before. So, I can only wait for the Okuda Island Master to go back and ask about it. Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, It's fine, these things aren't important. I'm just talking about it. You two don't need to worry too much about it. Since the two of them didn't know anything about the supreme ancient underworld, Lin Yi was prepared to ask Shanghai Tianhua if there was a chance in the future. As for the elders of the Okuda family, he didn't have much hope. After talking for a while, Han Jingjing still did not respond. The only good news was that she still maintained her posture of cultivation. At least it meant that her primordial spirit did not die, at least it was a comfort. He ordered Tian Chan and Sydney to bring Shanghai Laner to prepare some food. Firstly, it was to entertain the Will of Heaven and Okuda. Secondly, it could be considered as a welcoming banquet for Lin Yi. Then, Lin Yi took the opportunity to ask the two about Han Jingjing's true thoughts. In the end, there was no change. The two of them still didn't know what was going on. They could only go back and look for information, ask others, and so on. You don't need to worry, as long as your sister-in-law's condition hasn't deteriorated, she will definitely be able to find her primordial spirit. I will definitely help you with this matter. Okuda patted Lin Yi's shoulder and solemnly promised. I hope so. Lin Yi sighed softly. Han Jingjing's primordial spirit projection was for his sake. If something happened to her, Lin Yi would never be able to forgive himself. Sydney came up and said that the banquet was ready. The three of them could only put down the problem of Han Jingjing, go down to eat something, and continue to talk about the supreme ancient underworld and the secular world. After 3 rounds of wine, Okuda asked curiously, Brother Lin Yi, your strength has now broken through to the peak of the mysterious ascension late stage. How did you do it? According to common sense, after reaching the mysterious ascension stage, it is very difficult to raise one's level. Even if there is a profound raising pill, it is not common, and you can't take it when you are unconscious. But you can automatically level up continuously. This really makes me, your big brother, shocked. Regarding this matter, the will of heaven was also very curious. He wanted to break through to the mysterious ascension stage, but the meridians in his body were all broken. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's help, he would be a cripple now. What the number 1 Yuanying stage cultivator, being able to fight across realms, it was useless. Now the will of heaven had finally succeeded in advancing to the early mysterious ascension stage, but the speed of his cultivation was quite slow. If Lin Yi could tell him how he leveled up, it should be very helpful to him. After Okuda finished speaking, he felt that it was a little inappropriate. This question had already involved the privacy of Lin Yi's cultivation, so he immediately said, Brother, it's better not to say this kind of thing, lest it is leaked, that would be bad. Lin Yi smiled faintly and waved his hand, there is nothing that can't be said, Brother Okuda, you don't have to worry so much. In fact, I have just mentioned that the people of the ancient small Jianghu mainly focus on refining their divine sense. They even use their divine sense to condense alchemy fire. In their place, as long as the level of their divine sense goes up, the strength of their body will also improve. So it is probably because of the increase in the level of my divine sense that my body also improved. So that's how it is, this is indeed an incredible method, it is worth learning from. Okuda said in amazement. The improvement of divine sense could actually lead to the improvement of the strength of the body. It was a pity that there was no cultivation method to cultivate divine sense, otherwise, Okuda would want to start cultivating divine sense immediately. The expression of the will of heaven changed slightly. He should also be considering whether this method was suitable for him, but he was not sure at the moment. Lin Yi stretched out his hand in front of his eyes, clenched his fist and then loosened it. After repeating this a few times, he couldn't help but have a strange feeling in his heart. After such a long time, he had become accustomed to the state of the soul body. Suddenly returning to the body was really a bit difficult to adapt. Originally, he thought that he would be more powerful after returning to his original body, but in fact, his primordial spirit could do everything that his original body could do after mastering the method of divine sense attack. In battle, he could even transform into the primordial spirit state and reverse the situation unexpectedly. So, what was the use of leaving this physical body? In fact, Lin Yi had really dug his own horns. If there was no body, no matter how strong the soul body was, it was still rootless duckweed. For example, Lin Yi had the soul of the azure dragon in the space of his jade pendant. He would tell Lin Yi how big a loss it was to lose the body. Okuda had a great interest in the cultivation method of the ancient small Jianghu, so he continued to ask a lot of questions in this regard. Lin Yi also answered without reservation, of course, there was nothing substantial in it. Chapter 5789. As for the spiritual knowledge grassroots and spiritual knowledge fruits, they would definitely not be sold. The spiritual knowledge grassroots could be given to others. As for the spiritual knowledge fruit, although Lin Yi had no use for it, he was going to study it to see if there was a recipe for using the spiritual knowledge fruit as medicine. If he could refine it into medicinal pills, not only would the quantity be greatly increased, but the effect should also be much better than eating it directly. There was no other way. There were too many people around Lin Yi. The quantity he needed was not something that could be satisfied with a dozen spiritual knowledge fruits. Refining them into medicinal pills was the best choice. The will of heaven knew that Lin Yi was also a person who cultivated the god's creation battle art, but because of the presence of Okuda, many questions could not be asked directly. He could only ask some things about the ancient Jianghu. He thought that if he talked to Lin Yi alone later, he might be able to make great progress in the cultivation of the god's creation battle art. When the atmosphere between the guests and the host was harmonious, the restriction outside the Tiandan Pavilion was triggered. Because of the return of Lin Yi, Tiandan Pavilion closed early today. It was a little strange that someone would deliberately come to the door. Tian Chan went out to take a look, and her face became a little ugly. Jing Dongsheng? What is he doing here? Lin Yi just scanned with his divine sense and said strangely. Could it be that the medicine sect knew that he was back, so they came to say hello? It seemed that the relationship between the two sides was not that good, right? During the time that Lin Yi left, Tiandan Pavilion had been suppressed by the medicine sect in various ways. Not only did they come to make trouble on the surface, but they also made small moves in the dark. If it were not for Okuda's protection, Tian Chan would not have been able to hold on. Tian Chan turned back and asked Lin Yi, "Let's ignore them. It's rare for us to be so happy. Let's not let these guys spoil the mood." Lin Yi didn't care. He knew that the medicine sect had always been at odds with the Tiandan Pavilion. However, he had just come back, so he didn't want to take revenge for the time being. It wouldn't be too late to do it in a few days. They didn't want to pay attention to it, but Jing Dongsheng refused to give up. When he saw that no one came to open the door of the Tiandan Pavilion, he directly touched the barrier. If it weren't for Nakajima's rule that no one was allowed to attack the barrier of the shop, maybe he would have broken it by force. Lin Yi's face immediately turned cold. He didn't want to pay attention to these clowns. They were too arrogant. It seemed that if he didn't teach them a lesson, they wouldn't know who they were. The will of heaven stretched out his hand and said, "Brother, don't worry about it. I'll handle this matter. It's rare for you to come back. You should take a good rest." After saying that, the will of heaven got up and walked out. After opening the barrier, he brought Tian Chan and Sydney to stand outside the gate. "Jing Dongsheng, what are you doing? If you want to buy medicinal pills, please come back tomorrow." As soon as Tian Chan came out, she said to Jing Dongsheng unceremoniously. These days, the Tiandan Pavilion had been suppressed by the Tiandan Pavilion led by Jing Dongsheng. Now that Lin Yi was back, Tian Chan also had a backbone. Of course, she wouldn't be nice to Jing Dongsheng. Tong Yangsua, who was behind Jing Dongsheng, shouted, "How dare you? Who are you? How dare you speak to Master Jing like this? Don't you have any respect? No wonder your Tiandan Pavilion is going downhill. Who are you?" The will of heaven interrupted Tong Yangsua's words with a sneer. He took a step forward and said, "Who are you to say what my sister's identity is? If you dare to point fingers at my sister, believe it or not, I'll kill you right now." Tong Yangsua's face turned pale and he immediately shrank back. The fierce reputation of the will of heaven was not fake. If he said he would kill, then he would really kill. Jing Dongsheng chuckled twice, reached out and clapped a few times, and said, "The Deputy Island Master of Heaven is really powerful. You dare to say that you will kill people from our famous medicine sect in the street? What? The whole Middle Island is under the control of the will of heaven?" I, Jing Dongsheng, a 7th grade alchemist, was almost scared to my knees by your prestige. The will of heaven glared and said, "If you have something to say, say it quickly. Don't give me those useless things. What shit is a 7th grade alchemist? Is it that rare? You can try taking another step forward. Jing Dongxing's face was stiff. He really didn't dare to take a step forward like this. Who knew what the will of heaven would do? Tong Yangsua braced himself to help Jing Dongxing out of the predicament and said, Master Zheng is too lazy to talk to a boorish person like you. Tian Chan, listen, you know the situation of your Tiandan pavilion now. It's a compliment to say that it's deserted. How about giving your shop to our famous medicine sect? We won't treat you badly. The will of heaven laughed and said, it's really funny. Your famous medicine sect is nothing. How dare you come here to discuss people? Get lost. Don't make me say it again. The will of heaven, we are here to talk about business. Do you want to use your identity for personal gain by doing this? Or do you want to bully others? Jing Dongxing said with a sinister smile. If they could get hold of Tianxing's weakness and get him down, they could send his people up there. Then, they could get rid of the acting island master of Okuda State. Chapter 5790. Jing Dongxing was also shocked. He had never expected that the will of heaven would kill people on the street so fiercely. When he saw the will of heaven's cold eyes, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart and involuntarily took 2 steps back, for fear that the will of heaven would kill him again. The will of heaven said lightly, this person violated the safety regulations of Middle Island. Tiandan Pavilion explicitly refused to let him enter. He also broke into the shop without permission, so he was killed on the spot. Take it as a warning. Remember, in Middle Island, no one can easily violate the shop. Jing Dongxing was dumbfounded. He originally thought that Tong Yangsua's death was not in vain. At least he could be used as a blackmail against the will of heaven, and this blackmail was very big, enough to kill the will of heaven. He did not expect that the will of heaven finally came up with such a high-sounding reason. Breaking in without permission was basically equivalent to robbery. Robbing a shop in Middle Island was indeed enough to kill him on the spot. But the question was, how did Tong Yangsua become robbing a shop? He would not dare to do so even if he had 2 guts. However, what the will of heaven said was not unreasonable. Tian Chan had made it clear that they were not welcome, but Tong Yangsua still foolishly took a step forward. They were originally at the place where the prohibition was triggered. By taking a step forward, they directly entered the actual range of Tiandan Pavilion. The will of heaven seized the opportunity to kill him, and the headless body was still lying in the line of life and death. Jing Dongxing looked at Tianxing resentfully. He knew that Tong Yangsua had died for nothing, because Tianxing had his reasons and evidence. Although it was a bit unreasonable, there was really nothing wrong with it. At most, it was just making a fuss over a minor issue. What? You still don't want to get out of here? Do you want to collect his body? The will of heaven looked at Jing Dongxing coldly and said. His murderous intent was directed at Jing Dongxing. Jing Dongxing was not stupid. If he went over to absorb Tong Yangsua's corpse, what if Tianxing said that he was in cahoots with Tong Yangsua and wanted to rob the Heavenly Dan Pavilion? That would be a great injustice. For his own safety, he definitely could not go over. The will of heaven. Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you're the Deputy Island Master of Middle Island? Everyone's eyes are watching. What exactly is going on is not up to you to decide, You're not the only Deputy Island Master on Middle Island. Jing Dongxing didn't dare to go forward, but he didn't leave either. Instead, he continued to provoke them. Of course, Jing Dongxing would never enter the Tiandan Pavilion without Tian Chan's consent. As long as the will of heaven dared to come out and touch him, he had enough reasons to impeach the will of heaven. If there could be one more position of Deputy Island Master, the power of the medicine sect in Middle Island would be even more stable. The will of heaven said disdainfully, do whatever you want. Take your dog back first. After that, he kicked Tong Yangsua's headless body directly to Jing Dongxing. Knowing that this cowardly bandit didn't dare to come over to collect the body, the will of heaven was too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Tian-chan, let's go in and continue eating. There's no need to pay attention to this petty person. The will of heaven called out to Tian-chan and prepared to go in. Although the will of heaven had always been bold and unrestrained, he was also very meticulous. He had seized the opportunity to kill Tong Yangsua, which was equivalent to cutting off one of Jing Dongxing's arms. Furthermore, Jing Dongxing couldn't find any evidence to use against him. This was already a small victory. Moreover, he was in a good mood since Lin Yi was back. It wouldn't be too late to teach Jing Dongxing a lesson in the future. Deputy Island Master Heaven is so impressive, someone said coldly from afar. At the same time, they were approaching quickly. The will of heaven stopped in his tracks. He turned around and said calmly, "Wu Miao, are you going to meddle in this too?" Jing Dongxing's face lit up with joy. He quickly cupped his fists and said, "Island owner Wu, you've come at the right time. This Tianqing is too arrogant. He actually dared to kill someone in front of everyone. Island owner Wu, please uphold justice for our medicine sect today." Wu Miao looked stern and righteous. She reached out her hand to stop Jing Dongxing and said sternly, "Don't worry, Alchemist Jing. As the Vice Island Lord of Middle Island, I will never tolerate anyone abusing their power for personal gain and bullying others. I will definitely investigate this matter and give everyone an explanation." A mocking look appeared on the will of heaven's face as he said calmly, "Deputy Island Master Wu, you are indeed impartial and impartial. You have already come to a conclusion without any investigation, right?" Wu Miao first said that she wouldn't tolerate people abusing their power for personal gain and bullying others. Then, she said that she would investigate the matter and get to the bottom of it. She was basically saying that the heavens were in the wrong. Anyone with a discerning eye could understand. However, almost no one dared to say it out loud like the will of heaven. However, everyone knew that the will of heaven and Wu Miao didn't get along. Therefore, it was normal for them to be at loggerheads. "Tianqing, even if you're also one of the Vice Island Masters, as the Executive Vice Island Master, I still have the authority to discipline you. If you want to say that I'm impartial, there's no problem. Let's go back and investigate this matter first," Wu Miao said coldly to the will of heaven. Regardless of whether the will of heaven had done anything wrong, as long as Wu Miao brought him back, he would find a way to find a loophole. Wu Miao didn't need to give any orders. The 8 bodyguards who had followed her spread out and surrounded the will of heaven. In terms of strength, the 8 bodyguards combined were no match for the will of heaven. However, they represented the Island Master's pavilion. If the will of heaven dared to resist or even injure any of them, Wu Miao would have nothing to say. However, the will of heaven didn't care about Wu Miao at all. Instead, he laughed loudly and said, "Wu Miao, you are just an executive deputy island master. Do you think you are so great just because you keep talking about it? How dare you send people to arrest a deputy island master without any evidence? How dare you?" Wu Miao snorted nonchalantly. "No evidence? Aren't the corpses on the ground and the witnesses evidence? Pill Master Zheng is a direct witness. The will of heaven, I advise you to behave yourself. If you resist, even Okuda won't be able to protect you. Why should I protect Deputy Island Master Heaven?" A displeased voice came from Tiandan Pavilion, and Wu Miao's expression instantly changed. This voice belonged to Okuda, whom Wu Miao had mentioned earlier. Why hadn't anyone told her that Okuda had come to Tiandan Pavilion? While Wu Miao's expression changed, Okuda slowly walked out and looked at Wu Miao coldly. Chapter 5791. To be honest, they hadn't received any news that Okuda had come to Tiandan Pavilion. Okuda had rushed over as soon as he heard about Lin Yi's return. He didn't want to cause trouble, so he had come alone without letting anyone know. The will of heaven had only met Okuda when he entered the Tiandan Pavilion's main hall. "Deputy Island Lord Wu, is this how you handle disputes? What a good tactic." In this seat's opinion, the island master of Middle Island should be you. When it comes to a vice island master, you actually dare to act so carelessly. This is a boldness that my Okuda province doesn't have. Not bad at all. Okuda said calmly. His tone didn't sound angry, but even a fool could tell that he was rather displeased with Wu Miao. Okuda had always wanted to be on Lin Yi's good side, but something like this happened right after Lin Yi's return. Normal people would think that if he was like this right after coming back, what would it be like before he came back? Although the Okuda state still had the title of acting island master on his head, this kind of thing had caused him to lose a lot of face, so he was naturally quite unhappy. If Lin Yi felt that Okuda hadn't taken good care of Tiandan Pavilion after his primordial spirit projection, wouldn't all his efforts go to waste? Wu Miao broke out in a cold sweat. Not only was Okuda's cultivation level and status higher than hers, but he also had the Okuda family backing him up. Wu Miao couldn't afford to offend them. The consequences of offending Okuda would be 1,000 times worse than offending the lone will of heaven. Island Lord, Deputy Heaven Island Lord has openly killed people here, which is a violation of the rules. This subordinate only wants to bring Deputy Heaven Island Lord back to verify the situation, lest the rumors spread on the island be detrimental to him, said Wu Miao as she bowed to Okuda. She was extremely respectful and humble. Even though Wu Miao, Zheng Dongxing, Nantian Aurora, and the others were secretly plotting to get rid of the will of heaven and overthrow Okuda as the acting island lord, he didn't dare reveal any of it. Otherwise, the Okuda family's revenge would be too much for him to handle. Okuda Zhou said with an expressionless face, this king also witnessed the whole thing. Vice Island Lord Tian did nothing wrong. Instead, it was Zheng Dongxing, a dignified 7th grade alchemist, who dared to speak nonsense in front of someone else's shop, disturbing the public security. Vice Island Lord Wu, shouldn't you invite alchemist Zheng back for a chat? Zheng Dongxing's face instantly turned as red as a pig's liver. His body couldn't help but tremble. As a dignified 7th grade alchemist, wherever he went, he would be the center of attention. But now, he was humiliated by Okuda. It was really intolerable. But even if he couldn't bear it, he still had to endure it. Zheng Dongxing did not dare to offend someone like Okuda who had such a powerful background. If he was still the second-seat alchemist in the East Continent's yellow-rank Morning Star Cultivator Academy, he would not have to fear Okuda too much. It was a pity that he had been chased out. Wu Miao sighed in her heart. Okuda clearly wanted to support Tiandan Pavilion and the will of heaven, so Medicine's sect had no one to blame for coming to their doorstep. If he still couldn't understand, then he really didn't deserve to be the executive deputy island master. This subordinate understands. Don't worry, Island Lord. Alchemist Zheng will cooperate with this subordinate to resolve this matter. Once there is a result, this subordinate will personally report to Island Lord. Wu Miao became even more respectful. If they wanted to deal with Okuda, they couldn't arouse any suspicions from him. They were subservient now so that they could kill him in one strike in the future. Wu Miao gritted her teeth and comforted herself. Then, she gestured for her subordinates to take Zheng Dongxing away. Both of them were smart people. With Okuda and the will of heaven supporting Tiandan Pavilion, they definitely wouldn't be able to get anything out of this. They could only go back and discuss countermeasures. The will of heaven wanted Medicine's sect to compensate them, but unfortunately, Okuda was here, so they couldn't bring themselves to do that. They could only drop the matter. In any case, they had killed a dog from Medicine's sect, so it wasn't a loss. After Wu Miao and Zheng Dongxing left, they went to another property of Medicine's sect. They sent someone to call Southern Polar Light over for a discussion while they talked about Tiandan Pavilion. Island Lord Wu, why did Okuda and the will of heaven appear at Tiandan Pavilion at the same time? Do you think there's something wrong with Lin Yi? Zheng Dongxing frowned and guessed uneasily. He really did sound like the Emperor of Truth. Wu Miao shook her head and said, it's hard to say. Lin Yi has been in primordial spirit projection for almost 2 years now, right? He hasn't woken up for so long, so I'm guessing he's not coming back. Actually, Okuda only supports Tiandan Pavilion because of Lin Yi. If Lin Yi wasn't around, I don't think he would care about Tiandan Pavilion's survival. I heard that Lin Yi fainted last time, so I don't think he's going to make it. Do you think Okuda has taken a fancy to those two women? Jing Dongxing's eyes suddenly lit up as he chuckled. The information he'd gathered was obviously about the future's exchange, and he hadn't heard anything about Han Jingjing saving Lin Yi. Jing Dongxing, on the other hand, was quite interested in this sort of boring gossip. Wu Miao snorted but didn't agree with Jing Dongxing. Instead, she said coldly, Okuda isn't a shallow person. Although the two women at Tiandan Pavilion are stunning, he wouldn't covet his friend's women. I'm pretty sure about this. Jing Dongxing glanced at Wu Miao strangely. He was just making a random guess. Why did she look so unhappy? Alchemist Jing, if we want to deal with Okuda, we must accurately grasp and analyze his personality and behavior patterns. We must not put our subjective assumptions on Okuda. Otherwise, we will be the ones to suffer in the end. Wu Miao reminded them solemnly. She did not want to see the plan they had been working on for so long to be ruined by these idiotic teammates. Jing Dongxing laughed dryly and said, You're right, Island Lord Wu. But we can also make reasonable assumptions, right? Since it's uncertain, we might be able to come up with a better idea if we make assumptions. Wu Miao snorted again but couldn't be bothered to say anything else. She picked up the teacup and slowly sipped on it. The two of them fell silent. Chapter 5792. Island Lord Wu, Master Zheng, I heard you got into a conflict with Okuda and the Will of Heaven? Nantian Aurora hurried over and cupped his fists in greeting before he immediately asked about it. You're quite well informed, Wu Miao replied indifferently since she wasn't in a good mood. Nantian Aurora was a little baffled. However, he could tell that Wu Miao was unhappy, so he could only turn to ask Jing Dongxing. Master Zheng, what exactly happened? Jing Dongxing snorted twice and briefly explained what had happened just now. Of course, he skipped over the parts where he embarrassed himself. Nantian Aurora rubbed his chin and pondered for a long time before he said, Island Lord Wu, Master Zheng, I think there's something strange about this. Okuda and the Will of Heaven suddenly appeared at Tiandan Pavilion. Something must have happened. I reckon the only person who could make them appear at the same time is Lin Yi. Do you think that Lin Yi has woken up? But he has been projecting his primordial spirit for 2 years. You know this better than anyone else. Have you ever heard of someone who can project their primordial spirit for 2 years and return? Wu Miao narrowed her eyes as she looked at Nantian Aurora. She didn't seem concerned about Lin Yi waking up. Jing Dongxing nodded in agreement. However, he immediately said, speaking of which, Lin Yi is the only person who could make both of them appear at Tiandan Pavilion at the same time. If Lin Yi didn't return, do you think Lin Yi would have died? Nantian Aurora and Wu Miao were stunned and their jaws dropped involuntarily. That's right. Why couldn't Lin Yi have died? He had been projecting his primordial spirit for 2 years and there was news that he had fainted. It was normal for him to have died. No. It should be said that this was more reasonable. However, if Lin Yi died, would Okuda still need to go to Tiandan Pavilion to support them? When Nantian Aurora thought of this, he immediately brought it up. After all, Okuda's state was taking care of Heavenly Pill Pavilion out of respect for Lin Yi. If this fellow was finished, would he still stand up for Heavenly Pill Pavilion? Wu Miao immediately shook her head and said, no. If Lin Yi died, Okuda would definitely do something like this. This is to show how magnanimous he is. He definitely wouldn't find it troublesome. Jing Dongxing clapped and said, that's right. That must be the case. Lin Yi died a good death for Lin Yi. That Will of Heaven killed Tong Yangsua to intimidate medicine sect. I'm sure that if he had the chance, he would have killed me as well. That Tong Tian wouldn't have threatened Tiandan Tong. Can of Tong. Tian Dong Ling of Mountain Yuta. Tian is Lin. Nantian Aurora's eyes lit up, and he laughed heartily. In that case, this might be true. Island Lord Wu, as long as Lin Yi is really dead, Will of Heaven's position won't be so stable. As long as we can pull Will of Heaven down, Nantian Aurora, will definitely support Island Lord Wu. Wu Miao's mood improved when she heard Nantian Aurora's straightforward promise. However, she wouldn't take action based on such a guess. We still need to investigate this matter. Whether Lin Yi is dead or not is the key. As long as he's alive, he can keep Tiandan Pavilion as stable as Mount Tai. If he's really dead, then they will immediately become a pile of loose sand. Wu Miao said calmly. She had already started to think about how to verify this matter. Nantian Aurora took the opportunity to suggest, I heard that the Central Chamber of Commerce can communicate with the secular world. Perhaps we can find out some information about Lin Yi in the secular world from the Central Chamber of Commerce. That way, we can confirm whether he's really dead or not. Of course, Wu Miao was familiar with the Central Chamber of Commerce. She immediately nodded and said, all right. I'll leave this matter to you. You must find out the details. Nantian Aurora agreed respectfully. However, he despised them inwardly. Do you think it doesn't cost spirit jades to go to the Central Chamber of Commerce to find out information? You actually sent me away with just a few words. Just as Nantian Aurora suggested going to the Central Chamber of Commerce to find out information about Lin Yi was also thinking about making a trip to the Central Chamber of Commerce. He didn't know what exactly happened to Han Jingjing, but no matter what, he had to first ask the secular world and see if Han Jingjing was still there. Of course, he couldn't go immediately. After all, Okuda Prefecture and the Will of Heaven were still here. Lin Yi had to accompany them for a meal, tea, and chat first. The next morning, Lin Yi first went to check on Han Jingjing. She was still sitting cross-legged and hadn't changed at all. For now, it was already good news that there were no changes, so he felt more at ease. Without bringing Tian Chan and the others with him, Lin Yi went to the Central Chamber of Commerce alone. Actually, it wasn't that far from the Tiandan Pavilion, but the scale of the Central Chamber of Commerce was far greater than that of the Tiandan Pavilion. Although it wasn't that far, someone reported to Wu Miao and the others that Lin Yi swaggered over to the Central Chamber of Commerce, leaving them speechless. Wasn't he supposed to be unconscious? Wasn't he supposed to be dead? Why did he come out again? Wu Miao and the others finally realized that Okuda Prefecture and the Will of Heaven had appeared at the Tiandan Pavilion at the same time because of Lin Yi. He had really come back after 2 years of his primordial spirit projection. Lin Yi didn't know how big of a surprise he had given them. He saw a familiar face as soon as he stepped through the doors of the Central Chamber of Commerce. Si Haishao. Why did you come to Middle Island? Asked Lin Yi curiously. The Central Chamber of Commerce was shielded from divine senses, so Lin Yi couldn't use his divine sense to see what was going on inside. He immediately missed Hong Zhong when he saw Si Haishao, who was supposed to be on the North Island. Si Haishao was surprised to see Lin Yi. He said proudly, "Oh, it's Lin Yi. I'm the head manager here. If you need any help, just let me know. But you'll need spirit jades. Seems like you're doing pretty well. You're even a head manager here. Work hard and don't be so lecherous in the future." Lin Yi said casually, but Si Haishao's face darkened. However, he quickly composed himself. It was in his nature to be lecherous, and he couldn't change it. As for Lin Yi, Si Haishao would definitely stab him in the back if he had the chance. Si Haishao had actually been transferred to the Central Chamber of Commerce. Back when he was on the North Island, he had barely done anything to harm Lin Yi. Moreover, he didn't have any achievements in gathering intelligence, so it would be strange if he hadn't been sent away. Chapter 5793. Lin Yi didn't care. He smiled faintly and said, "See Haishao, are you the person in charge here? Don't you understand? I'm the shopkeeper here, which means I'm the person in charge. If you have something to say, just say it. Don't dawdle all day." Si Haishao once again emphasized the words head manager, in order to make himself appear more powerful. In fact, when it came to power, Si Haishao was far less powerful than when he was in the North Island. So he didn't even know that the center and Lin Yi had reached an agreement. "Well, I have a letter to send to the secular world." Lin Yi didn't want to talk nonsense with this guy. He directly took out a letter and handed it to Si Haishao. Si Haishao snorted, raised his head and said disdainfully, "This business has been stopped. You can go somewhere else. I won't see you out." Lin Yi frowned slightly. The wormhole tunnel of the center had been shared with him. Why was it so troublesome to send a letter? If Han Jingjing came back, this kind of thing didn't need to be done through the center. Don't pretend to be the boss if you can't make the decision. Hurry up and find someone who can take charge here. Lin Yi said impatiently. If he wasn't worried about Han Jingjing, he would have slapped him. Si Haishao's annoying face made him angry. Don't you understand human language? I'm the shopkeeper here. This business has been stopped. Hurry up and leave. Don't make trouble here. Lin Yi was impatient. Si Haishao was impatient. He continued to drive Lin Yi away. Lin Yi didn't want to talk nonsense. He directly slapped Si Haishao in the face and sent him flying. Since he wanted to be slapped so badly, it seemed inappropriate not to be satisfied. It was said that one should look at the master before beating a dog. Since the master didn't come out, he would beat the dog first. He thought it would come out soon. "How dare you hit me? How dare you hit me in the Chamber of Commerce of the center? Lin Yi, you're dead." Si Haishao spat out a few teeth and roared hysterically at Lin Yi. Even without Si Haishao's order, a guard rushed out and fiercely pounced on Lin Yi, swinging the machete in his hand. Mid-stage profound ascension. The Central Chamber of Commerce is indeed rich. They can even use such an expert as a guard. Lin Yi clicked his tongue in wonder. However, his eyes were filled with disdain. He was only at the middle stage of profound ascension, yet he dared to be so arrogant in front of Lin Yi, he would not even know how he died. With another simple slap, this profound ascension middle stage guard flew out at a speed faster than when he came. Before he landed, he spat out a few teeth, which was no different from Si Haishao's situation. Si Haishao was dumbfounded. He couldn't help but swallow the words he was about to say. He knew that Lin Yi was strong, but when did Lin Yi become so strong? An expert at the middle stage of profound ascension was enough to be the vice island master of Middle Island. In the end, Lin Yi didn't even look at him. With a casual slap, he sent him flying like a fly. How could they still have fun like this? Fortunately, it was still early. There were no outsiders in the Central Chamber of Commerce other than Lin Yi. Otherwise, this would really be a big loss of face. Si Haishao originally wanted to use the ban of Middle Island to talk about it, but in the end, he tactfully didn't say anything. Si Haishao, are you still in charge here? Lin Yi waved his hand and looked at Si Haishao with a mocking expression. Si Haishao hurriedly shook his head and said, No, I'm just a shopkeeper. I can't make the decision. Please wait, I'll find someone in charge right away. After saying this, Si Haishao didn't dare to be negligent anymore. He quickly got up and ran to inform the people above him. Soon, he ran back and said, I'm asking you to go see him. It's on the 4th floor. This way please. Half of Si Haishao's face was swollen, but he didn't dare to treat it first. He led Lin Yi to the corridor with half fear and half respect. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of any ambush set up by the Central Chamber of Commerce. Middle Island was almost the same as his territory. There was no need to doubt its safety. Moreover, with his current strength, cultivators at the mountain opening stage might not be his opponent. There was really nothing to worry about. After leading Lin Yi to a room on the 4th floor, Si Haixiao retreated. Lin Yi scanned the room with his divine sense and discovered that every room had a divine sense shielding effect. However, it wasn't very strong. As long as he wanted to, he could easily break it. However, Lin Yi wasn't here to cause trouble, so he didn't intend to force his way in. He directly pushed open the door and walked in. Kang Mingming. What surprised Lin Yi was that the person inside was actually an acquaintance. This kid actually became Si Haixiao's direct superior. It seemed like his bootlicking skills were improving, so he climbed up quickly. He seemed to be doing quite well. Kang Mingming smiled proudly and said, "Lin Yi, you didn't expect to see me here, right? I heard that you're very awesome. You came here early in the morning to beat people up. What about it? Do you think the central chamber can't deal with you?" Lin Yi smiled faintly and said, "I'm quite surprised. You're actually still alive? You even became the person in charge of the central chamber? Forget it, these are not important. I want to send a letter to the secular world. What do you say?" "What can I say? For the sake of our acquaintance, if you beg me, I'll send it to you." Kang Xiaoming laughed heartily. He crossed his legs and shook them quickly. He looked like a villain who was intoxicated with success. "Is it because I haven't beaten you for a long time, so your skin is a little itchy?" Lin Yi raised his eyebrows slightly and said faintly. It may not be interesting to beat others, but he was very interested in beating up Kang Mingming. Kang Mingming snorted and said, "Lin Yi, who are you trying to scare? Isn't it just a profound ascension late stage? Is it that great? In the small Jianghu and the secular world, you are powerful. But in the heavenly stage island, what is this strength? It's better for you to know your place." "You mean you've already surpassed me? Then let's try 2 moves." Lin Yi stretched out his hand and hooked his finger at Kang Mingming. Kang Mingming was suddenly speechless. How could his strength compare with Lin Yi? He was really looking for a beating. After a pause, Kang Mingming straightened his neck and said, "Why do you care if I have surpassed you or not? Let me tell you, my men are stronger than you. What do you have to be proud of?" Afraid that Lin Yi would continue to pester this issue, Kang Mingming simply changed the topic and said, "Okay, don't talk about those useless things. I know about your things in the small Jianghu and the secular world. Or tell me what you are doing here." "Kang Mingming, are you scared? I said just now, send me a letter and die in the secular world." Lin Yi snorted and did not continue to find trouble with him. Chapter 5794. Genius 1 second. Remember love? Go. Say net, provide you with wonderful novels to read. Thinking of Zhong Pingliang, Lin Yi said casually, "Even an idiot like you can get the position. Why didn't Zhong Pingliang, who is as stupid as you, see it? Did he get the position too? Or is he dead?" Kang Mingming snorted and said, "Liang Bro is a big shot. How can a small character like you meet him whenever he wants?" "It doesn't matter if I tell you. Liang Bro is now the special envoy of Zhongdao, a real lord. The whole Zhongdao is under Liang Bro's control. Of course, I'm not bad either. I'm the assistant of Zhongdao's special envoy, understand? I'm the second person under Liang Bro, helping Liang Bro to manage Zhongdao's center." Lin Yi was slightly happy. He didn't expect Zhong Pingliang to be doing so well. He had already become one of the higher-ups of the center. He didn't know if this little brother had other ideas. It would be great if he could meet him. "Okay, stop talking nonsense. Can you, the second brother, make the decision about sending the letter? Give me a direct answer." Lin Yi wanted to see Zhong Pingliang, but it was a bit abrupt if he took the initiative. He could only solve the problem of sending the letter first. Anyway, Zhong Pingliang was in Zhongdao. If he knew that he was back, he would find a way to meet him. Kang Xiaoming paused for a moment and snorted, "Of course I can make the decision for such a small matter, but you're different. You're someone that even Liang Bro doesn't like. I'll have to ask Liang Bro first. Just wait. Kang Mingming finished and saw that Lin Yi didn't move. He rolled his eyes and said, I told you to go back and wait, not wait here. Lin Yi frowned slightly. This Kang Mingming really forgot the pain. Did he really think that he wouldn't dare to teach him a lesson here? Leave the letter here. I'll inform you after I've consulted with Brother Liang. Kang Mingming also saw Lin Yi's frown. He really didn't dare to offend Lin Yi too much, so he immediately calmed down and said. Lin Yi snorted coldly and placed the letter on the tea table. There's a mark of my divine sense on it. If it's damaged before it's sent to the secular world, you can wash your neck clean and wait for death. Kang Mingming felt a chill run down his spine. He really didn't think that Lin Yi was trying to scare him. His original intention of taking a peek to satisfy his curiosity immediately disappeared. Who cares? Go quickly. I don't want to see you anymore. Kang Mingming angrily asked him to leave. Sure enough, seeing Lin Yi alone was a bit stressful. Lin Yi smiled faintly and ignored Kang Mingming. He turned around and walked out of the room. Perhaps Zhong Pingliang was also in this building, but Lin Yi wouldn't take the initiative to find Zhong Pingliang, so he could only go back to Tiandan Pavilion first. Walking out of the Central Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi suddenly felt that he should go back to the North Island as soon as possible. Zhong Pingliang and Kang Mingming both came to the Middle Island. He didn't know if there were any changes in the North Island. Shanghai Laner came from the North Island, but this young lady wouldn't care at all what was different about the North Island. Where there was a center, the power structure changed very quickly. For example, if there was no Lin Yi, the ancient small Jianghu might have been completely controlled by the center. There were a lot of masters on Sky-class Island, and the center wouldn't be able to control too many big sects in a short amount of time. But the power structure was definitely changing, and Lin Yi had to get to the bottom of what had happened in the past 2 years. The best target was, of course, Zhong Pingliang, who'd gotten into the center and held a high position. He only hoped that Zhong Pingliang could work hard and not completely fall for the center after getting benefits from the center. I wonder how the King of Junk is doing now. The things in the forging pool should be almost done, right? Lin Yi sighed softly, thinking about the King of Junk. It was all because of Han Jingjing. With the automatic forging mechanism, the King of Junk might be able to successfully end things. But where did Han Jingjing's primordial spirit go? After returning to the Heavenly Dan Pavilion, Lin Yi went to check on Han Jingjing again. She was still the same, and there were no signs of her suddenly waking up. This made him feel very helpless. After chatting with Tian Chan and Sydney for a while, Lin Yi started making some elixirs for them to sell. Tiandan Pavilion had been suppressed by the medicine sect for too long. It just so happened that Tong Yangsua was killed when the medicine sect came looking for trouble yesterday, so it was the best time for Tiandan Pavilion to strike back. When the sky turned dark, someone from the Central Chamber of Commerce came to find Lin Yi, saying that they wanted to discuss sending a letter to the common world. Lin Yi guessed that it was Zhong Pingliang, so he followed the person to the Central Chamber of Commerce without saying anything. Kang Mingming laughed when he saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi, you really do come and go at my beck and call. Not bad, not bad. Seeing that you're so obedient, I'll put in a good word for you in front of Liang Bro and get him to agree to send a letter to the common world. Lin Yi didn't even look at him, ignoring Kang Mingming completely. When he walked past him, he said faintly, idiot. The smile on Kang Mingming's face froze as he pointed at Lin Yi. Say that again. Do you believe that I won't kill you? Lin Yi, who was already on the stairs, didn't turn his head, but he still fulfilled Kang Mingming's request and raised his voice, idiot. The person who led the way had already told Lin Yi that it was Zhong Pingliang, the special envoy from the Central Chamber of Commerce, who wanted to see Lin Yi. The location was at the top floor of the Central Chamber of Commerce, so Lin Yi didn't want to talk to Kang Mingming at all. He would just go up and find Zhong Pingliang himself. The veins on Kang Ming's forehead were bulging. He felt that he was really an idiot. After being scolded once, he still wanted to be scolded again. He wanted to hit Lin Yi, but he knew that his strength was far from Lin Yi's. If he hit Lin Yi, he would be asking for a beating. Stop, this is the Central Chamber of Commerce, it's not a place where you can just walk around. Kang Mingming rushed up the stairs sullenly, blocking Lin Yi's way. He couldn't win in a fight, nor could he win in an argument. Kang Mingming could only stop Lin Yi to regain some sense of balance. Lin Yi purposely frowned. Didn't you send someone to tell me that Zhong Pingliang wants to see me? Just tell me if you're going to send me a letter or not, don't play these annoying tricks all day. Kang Mingming was speechless. This time, it was Zhong Pingliang who wanted to see Lin Yi. He probably wanted to show off to Lin Yi after he got the position, so Kang Mingming came first to knock down Lin Yi's arrogance. Unfortunately, the one who was knocked down was Kang Mingming himself. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.